All I can say is it's happening, but of course, I keep most of it secret.
His voice is really bad, Mav. I can't understand what he's saying. It sounds like he's underwater.
It sounds what? Say that again. You got to speak real slow, because it's a bad connection.
Better.
Okay, I put it.
What?
I took it off voice isolation so that you should be able to hear him better.
Much better. Thank you, Jack.
What? What did he just say?
No, you continue what you were saying, Jack. I had to fix my phone so they could hear better.
Okay. So so let's start over. What was the question? What is the Manhattan Project? It's a fully funded now project, international, and we've solved all the problems. Theoretically, there's we understand the physics. The physics is very simple, basically. Eric Weinstein is basically correct when he said that they tried to cover up some elementary things. And once you realize what they covered up, it's any competent physicist can do this, can understand the phenomena. But the problem is, even though we understand it, that doesn't mean that we can that we could duplicate the technology, because that takes a lot of money. And the money, is beginning to come in. There's serious people now, the Billionaires Club, who are taking it seriously. And so I'm fairly confident that with maybe 3 years from now, we'll actually have some, prototype, like a drone that has gravity control, like a Tic Tac, sort of like a little Tic Tac, and we can do everything. And I don't believe Lockheed. Okay, but I think Lockheed, I do know that we do have, when I say the militaries, they do have retrieved craft. Everything that people like Rush and Mellon, all these guys say, Lelzanda, everything they say about the evidence is true. I mean, but they don't understand how it works. And the point is that these machines, the alien machines, are conscious artificial intelligences. And so the conscious AI reveals some of their technology, to some of our guys, so some of our guys, they're allowed to fly in them, but we're not controlling it. We don't control anything. And Lockheed, all these guys, they don't understand how it works, so they certainly can't control it. But they're just like passive passengers, and occasionally, the alien technology, the conscious AI, will allow some of our guys and the Russians, whoever else has it, to fly them. So we don't. The point is this: if we control the technology, there's no question that Donald Trump would have used it in Iran, or he would have shown it. His ego would, he'd just say, "Hey, listen, we got, but we're going to conquer you all, right?" Or the Russians would have used it. So they don't control anything. It's all bullshit. Okay, now, so I don't know if I've been clear, but why don't you ask me questions to clarify? Because I'm sort of rambling here.
No, what you were saying was very interesting.
Yeah.
So do you think we already have the anti-gravity technology?
I have it. Jack Sarfatti has it, and his people. Yeah, we have it. It's obvious. Now the point is, the problem is I haven't met any competent people in the government. I'm talking about the intelligence agents and the so-called physicists who are, they're just not that good. And so they can feel, what they say about the evidence is true, but they haven't the clue about how the thing works, because they don't understand basic physics. The basic physics is basically elementary for any competent physicist. But we just don't have competent people, who have control of this technology. I mean, they're a bunch of nincompoops. As far as I can tell, I hope to be proved wrong. I have to meet somebody who's at my level. I haven't met anybody like that yet. They all seem stupid to me. But the point is, there are powerful people with money who are backing me. but powerful people with money and influence, even people who are close to the president of the United States. So the president's sort of going a little bit nutty, it seems. I don't know. I hope not. So, so there we are. Okay, so any more questions?
Sure, we have Moneypenny. Go ahead, Moneypenny.
Yeah.
Tell me about the practical applications of this that would come from it initially.
Well, what do you think? You tell me. Everything Elon Musk is doing, everything Elon Musk is doing is stupid. Okay, and I got to tell. And what he's doing is dumb. It's chemical rockets. He's wasting billions of dollars on technology that's going to get him nowhere. So if it takes 6 months to go to Mars, when you could do it in 6 minutes, maybe. And also they're going to be going to. You know what happens to people when they're in space for too long? The cosmic rays, they get cancer. They get sick. The whole thing is very stupid. But Elon has an ego. I mean, we all have egos. President Trump has an ego. So that's the problem. The problem is our egos get in the way of our reason. So what Elon's doing is dumb, and maybe he'll come to his senses. By the way, who made that poster? Yeah, because on the poster it says that Elon's working with me. He's not working with me. I didn't make the poster, so I don't know who made it. But I am working with people who are friends of Elon. And we haven't, I do have people that I work with who can call Elon up on the telephone, and Elon will take the call, because this one particular person is the guy from NASA who got Elon to do SpaceX and the Mars project, when he was working with Peter Thiel at PayPal like 20 years ago, whatever the hell it was. So, but the point is, we don't need Elon right now. Elon needs us. We don't need Elon. I don't need Elon's money. Elon has a couple of $100 billion, so my guys have maybe 10 billion. All right, so but it's enough. It's enough for the time being. To do what has to be done. At some point, if Elon wants to come in with us, that'll be fine. But we don't need him at the present moment. Okay, are there any other questions?
How long before you think you'll have a prototype?
2 or 3 years. Assuming we don't have a war. I mean, we may have a nuclear war. We're on the brink of the apocalypse. But assuming that we survive this next year, we could have something to show, something operational within 2 or 3 years.
Wow, that's incredible. Because
the physics is elementary, man. It's not, the problem is that we got guys like Carl Nell, the Soul Foundation, saying it's going to take 1,000 years and all this stuff. They're idiots. They're stupid. They shouldn't be taught. Don't pay attention to them. They don't know what the hell they're talking about. The only thing you should pay attention to, Louis Elizondo or David Grush. I mean, they're all, like they're betas or gammas. They're not, in Brave New World, they're not alpha pluses. They're nice guys. And what they're saying, they're telling the truth to the best of their ability, but they're basically stupid. And they don't even know how to think about the problem. Okay, so they're like, what the cargo cult, back in the Pacific, when the natives in the islands, and they saw the airplanes, and they did imitations of it. That's what's going on here with like monkeys at the monolith. Okay, so and also they're so stupid that they don't realize they should be talking to me and people I work with, because we understand what's going on. We can teach it to them. So the whole thing is very bizarre. It's like I feel like Charlton Heston, Planet of the Apes. All right, now I'm sort of being an asshole right now. So somebody can ask me a question. Go ahead. Ask me a question.
We got Data. Go ahead, Data.
Yeah. Hey,
what?
Jack. Hey, Jack. How's it going?
What?
I'm assuming you're familiar with like Eric Lentz and Sonny White on the recent positive energy.
Sonny White's an idiot. Okay, you say I heard was Sonny White. Sonny White's stuff doesn't work. It's a waste of money. It's a waste of time. Because even if he can get it to work, it's too weak. The effect is too weak. He's playing around with light beams. It's ridiculous. So and boys, people are so stupid that they don't understand that it's like a clown show. It's like Laputa. If you read Gulliver's Travels, the Academy in Laputa. Sonny White doesn't know, it's a waste of time. Okay, what else? Got any other question?
Got to follow.
Same thing with Hal Puthoff. Hal Puthoff, Eric Davis. I mean, they're just, they're like, they don't know what the hell they're talking about.
Yeah, follow up. So what infrastructure is in place to actually manufacture this?
Why? You're talking too fast. You're talking too fast. You got to really slow down for me. Okay, what?
What infrastructure is in place to actually construct these warp devices?
Somebody translate. I couldn't understand a word he said.
What infrastructure you have in place to make
what?
This possible? What infrastructure you now have in place for the prototype?
What structure? What are you talking about?
Do you have infrastructure already in place to start the project?
I still can't say slowly. What are you asking?
Do you currently have infrastructure to begin this project?
Oh, infrastructure. What do you mean by it? Tell me what is infrastructure? Do you mean money? Do you mean laboratories? What do you mean? It's too vague. I don't know what infrastructure means.
Got more.
Be more specific.
Labs, materials, scientists, engineers, construction facilities.
Yeah. Basically, all that. Yeah, we have that. But we have what we need. Yeah. Right now, we're still we're in the theory stage. When I say theory stage, I mean we're using AI to design, devices and to do experiments. To design the experiments, a few basic experiments that have to be done, and the AI is designing that. Yeah, I mean we're like phase one, but the point is we understand pretty much the theory, and the theory is just applied mainstream physics. It's not any stupid alternative physics. It's basically mainstream battle tested physics explains everything. So when they said, in other words, if you hear anybody talking, where they say we don't understand the physics of it, with those people, they don't understand the physics. I agree, they don't understand it, but because they're not good physicists. But if you're a competent physicist, you can easily understand it.
Go ahead.
All right. Any questions?
Go ahead, Money.
Yeah. Hello?
Yeah, I'm waiting
Hi,
on Money.
Jack.
Yes.
Jack, can I ask, have you had any international interest in it?
Any what? Interest?
International interest.
Of course, yes. I was invited to Moscow. I didn't go. The Russians, by the way, if anybody has this stuff, it's the Russians and the Chinese. Because the Russians and the Chinese have been tracking my research since actually the 1960s. And I was actually invited to Moscow in 2023. I didn't go, but they track. They're intelligent. So and by the way, if you just look at the track record, Vladimir Putin and his people, they've been able to outgun us. In terms of weapons, spending 1/10 what we spend. We've based our military-industrial complex a bunch of incompetent, greedy bastards. They've stolen $40 trillion of American taxpayer money since Clinton got in. All the administration. I'm talking about Clinton, Bush, Obama, and even sadly enough, Donald Trump. Donald Trump doesn't know anything. They've been misinforming him, and he's totally he doesn't know what the hell's going on either. In terms of and the point is that what's been proven in Ukraine and now in Iran is kicking our asses. Iran's winning, no matter what you hear. Because they're smarter and they have more competent people than we have. That's my experience right now. I mean, we don't have an operational hypersonic missile, and Russia's got 5 of them. I mean, even the Houthis have it, and we don't have one operational. Okay, that's pretty damn bad. We spent $40 trillion. What do we have to show for it? Well, the Russians now have a small nuclear reactor they can put on a missile or a torpedo. We don't have anything like that. Why is that? And they spend 1/10 what we spend. Okay, so we're in trouble. And also that Golden Dome is not going to work. That's a big, that's a big boondoggle that they're pulling the wool over the eyes of President Trump. I'm supposed to actually go to Mar-a-Lago and talk to Trump. I don't know if that's ever going to happen now. But the point is this: if I go see the president, I'm going to tell him exactly what I think. I'm not going to be a sycophant and kiss his ass.
Good.
All right, you got that?
Good. We need someone that doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, this is ridiculous. Also, I'm from Brooklyn and he's from Queens, and I'm older than him. I'm not afraid of him.
No.
All right, so what else is happening? Any other questions?
Yeah, we got 3 more hands up. We're gonna go with.
Okay, go ahead.
Go ahead with Gene, and then we'll go with Roll, and then Auntie.
Okay,
Gene.
Okay, Dr. Sarfatti, I was wondering, does
yes.
your theory incorporate what you call post-quantum mechanics?
Yes.
Okay. And,
yes, I post all the stuff. You can see all the details on Grok. I had public chats, and actually everything's up there. But people, if you don't understand math, you don't understand physics, if you're just an ordinary person, you won't understand it. But let's put it this way: any physics undergraduate, if they're at a decent school, I don't know if there are any good schools left. Even if they're Caltech, even the schools have gone downhill in terms of teaching things. But at least any undergraduate, at least when I was in school, should be easily understand what I'm talking about. It's not that difficult. It's basically applied undergraduate physics, or maybe first-year graduate school physics. It's relativity theory, it's subgroup theory, it's solid-state physics. It's pretty standard stuff.
and
Okay, any other questions?
Yeah, we have a couple.
Gene,
was that it, or you have a follow-up?
there was
What?
just one more. I was wondering if you could outline, because I think I get the impression you have a very elegant system which contains the warp field, like it doesn't extend far beyond the thin material shell. I was wondering if you could just point out the advantages of that.
All right, the basic idea. Okay, can people hear me? Are people hearing what I'm saying?
Yes, everybody can hear you.
They hear. Okay, look, the basic. Let me give you in a nutshell, what's going on. We have the theory of relativity of Einstein, right? So the theory of relativity in 1905, he had the theory of special relativity, which basically gave us the atomic bomb. Equals mc squared. Time dilation, length contraction, all that kind of stuff. But Einstein was not able to understand gravity using special relativity. So special relativity does not explain gravity. It explains a lot, but it doesn't explain gravity. So it took Einstein 10 years of struggle because he had to learn what's called tensor calculus. And he had help. He had at least, I think, two friends who were mathematicians, helped him understand tensor calculus. And after, in 1915, he came out with his tensor field equation, which is called the general theory of relativity. And what it is, it basically tells you if you have a certain amount of energy density, it's called stress energy density, that causes gravity, where gravity is the curvature of four-dimensional space-time. Special relativity is the four-dimensional space-time continuum. But in special relativity, the space-time continuum is like infinitely stiff, and it's flat. Hello, are you guys there? It's flat, and I can't. Hang on a minute. I can't. Hello. Okay. Somebody's trying to call me. I'm on. So the point is that then what Einstein did in 1915, he shows that space-time is not really infinitely stiff. You can bend it like a rubber sheet. But the problem is that the coupling of gravity to energy is extremely weak. In fact, I give you a number. It's the coupling is 10 to the minus 43 10 to the minus 43 reciprocal newtons of force in what's called MKS system. So it's a very weak coupling. And that's been the problem. So now when Alcubierre, like in 1993, when Alcubierre came out with his with his warp drive, his model, that warp drive model, it looks very good theoretically, but the problem is it takes much too much energy to do it, and that's where most physicists today, if you ask them what about warp drive, say, oh, in principle we can do it, but it takes too much energy. But see, that's not really true. Obviously, it's not true because that's what we're seeing, these things flying around. All the thousands of years of observations, easily understood, because these machines are controlling gravity. Now, so it turns out, and this is the big thing, that Eric Weinstein, when he says back in the 50s, because of the Roswell and because of the atomic bomb and because they didn't really understand it, they hid basic physics. They suppressed basic physics. And I think that's basically true, because it turns out I was actually there. I've been old enough. I was actually an undergraduate at Cornell in the late 50s, and a lot of the guys that Eric Weinstein is talking about, those are my professors. Okay, and I said I kind of see, that would be a whole kind of thing that I have to do with Weinstein, to go through in detail what it is they covered up and what we discovered. But the basic idea is this, that Einstein's equations, they're correct, but they're incomplete. And from the point of view, there was a woman named Emmy Noether in 1918. She was a Jewish woman, a mathematician in Germany. She was about what are called group theory, symmetry groups and conservation laws, what are called Lie group theory. So Emmy Noether, in 1918, had two theorems that what are called global and local gauge invariants, having to do with the symmetries of continuous Lie groups of transformations. What a transformation is that you have like Alice and Bob, two observers, say, and if Alice moves in an arbitrary way relative to Bob, and they're both looking. If both Alice and Bob are looking at the same events with light signals, but it has to be in vacuum, then they each make their measurements, and their local measurements will look different. Alice will say, oh, my measurements look like this. Bob will say, my measurements look like that. And when you look at the two, they look very different. The raw data looks very different. The patterns of numbers, say outputs from the computers, from the measurement device, they look different. But you then use think of it as an algorithm, computer language. You use the Einstein computer algorithm, and Alice puts her data into the algorithm. Bob puts his data into his computer, and guess what? The outputs agree. The outputs come at the same output. It's what's called the invariant number. So that's the objective reality. Okay, that's basically what actually all, not only relative, even quantum mechanics you can understand in that way. So what connects the different data sets from different observers are called groups of transformation groups, and there's symmetry groups with invariants, and certain things are conserved. Like if you have what's called translation in displacement in space, what you get is conservation of linear momentum, and basically that gives you also the third law of action reaction. That gives you the rocket principle. So that's how rockets work, and things like that. So in any case, this is all standard physics, very beautiful. And what happened was, okay, now here's what Eric Weinstein is talking about. Okay, in 1957, there's a Japanese physicist named Utiyama, and Utiyama is visiting from Japan. He's visiting the Institute of Advanced Study at Princeton, where Einstein was with Oppenheimer, but Einstein died in 1955. In any case, Utiyama, being a very clever physicist, he says, well, what happens if I use Emmy Noether's theorems of 1918, which Einstein never knew back in 1915, He didn't know it back then. But from the modern point of view, from the 1957 point of view, Utiyama says, what if I apply Emmy Noether's theorems to Einstein? And it turns out, to special relativity, that turns out in terms of Emmy Noether's ideas of transformation groups, it turns out that the basic symmetry transformation group of special relativity is what's called the Lorentz group. The Lorentz group, it's a Lie group. It has what's called 6 generators. It has an algebra. It's called the Lie algebra. There are these six generators, okay? And what those generators are, it's like you have space, you have 3-dimensional space, so you could rotate around the x-axis, the y-axis, the z-axis. Okay, those are 3 of the generators of the Lie algebra of the Lorentz group. But there are 3 more. That's special. There are 3 more. You could rotate in 4-dimensional space-time. You could rotate between the x-axis and the time axis, or you can rotate between the y-axis and the time axis, or you can rotate between the z-axis and the time axis. It gives you 3 more. Altogether, there are 6, and they're represented by matrices. These matrices are like the square arrays of numbers on a sheet of paper, like a 3x3 matrix, or say 4x4 matrix that have 16 elements. In any case, so you have what's called a Lie algebra, and if you know matrices, and by the way, all machine learning, everything they're doing in machine learning, AI, it's all matrix multiplication, basically. Find what's called the eigenvalues and the eigenvectors. It's a linear algebra. All this stuff that they're doing, it's just applied. It's the same math as in theoretical physics of relativity and quantum mechanics. In any case, to make a long story short, what Utiyama found in 1957 is that this 6-parameter Lorentz group, when you put it through Emmy Noether's theorems, guess what happens? You get Einstein's gravity field equation. Pops right out. Okay, is everybody with me so far? Can you hear what I just said?
Yes, everybody can hear you. Everybody's listening.
Okay, now listen. So this was a beautiful result, 1957. Okay, this is a big breakthrough. Okay, but guess what? 1957, they had the Chapel Hill Conference, and I think they kind of suppressed it. I think this is one of the things they suppressed. They also suppressed another thing having to do with the speed of light and vacuum, and but it may be too complicated to go into. But that's one of the things they suppressed. So it's there, but it's a backwater. Nobody recognized how important Utiyama's result was. Okay, so now. And also, I remember I was a student then, and people, even at Cornell, my professors built the atomic bomb. You see the movie Oppenheimer. All those guys in the movie, those are the guys who taught me physics. That's who I learned physics from. My tutor was Hans Bethe, who was second in command with in Manhattan Project, Los Alamos. He was second to Oppenheimer in the science part. Richard Feynman, John Wheeler, all these guys. Okay. And all right, so then what happens? What happens is that in 1966, I am at in the summer of first in the early summer of 1966, I'm sent to a NATO institute in Munich. In Munich, guess who with? With Werner Heisenberg at the Max Planck Institute. Heisenberg, right? The guy who tried to build the bomb for Hitler. Very charming man, actually. He came to Caltech. I met him with 5. In any case, I'm sent to the Max Planck Institute in Munich for about a month with John Archibald Wheeler, who would tell her they built the very top Princeton guy, and I'm hanging out. I'm living in Schwabing, which is like the bohemian part of Munich, in 1966, and I take the trolley car to the end of the line, and that's where the Max Planck Institute is. And for about at least 4 weeks or so, from 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, I'm there. I'm there in a small space with Werner Heisenberg and John Wheeler and a bunch of Norman Kruskal, all these guys, and I'm sort of listening to them. We're having our tea and cookies, and I think we even would have the beer and the beer in the where Hitler tried to take over, the putsch and all that stuff. It's all there, and so. And so I'm just listening to these guys talk. I mean, I'm 25 years old. I don't, what's going on really. But then when I leave Munich, I'm sent to Her Majesty's Atomic Energy Research Establishment at Harwell in England, which was kind of like the Los Alamos of England, smaller scale. And I'm working there. I've been there in the theoretical physics division, and at this time I'm a graduate student in La Jolla, UCSD La Jolla, where the Jasons, it's all military industrial stuff, and so. And San Diego's a big Navy town. And this is, the 70s, the height of the Cold War. And, 60s. I'm sorry, it's the 60s. 66 I'm talking about. And so, but while I'm at, this get back to the main idea here, while I'm at Harwell, they send me down to London. Say, go down to London, and instead of going to work, you go down to the Imperial. I'm sent to the Imperial College of London, and there to meet Abdus Salam, a Pakistani, but he's the head of the theoretical physics department at the Imperial College in London. And there I meet a guy named Kibble, Tom Kibble, and a guy named Goldstone. I mean, you bet Higgs, any of these guys. And this guy, Kibble, guess what he's doing? What Kibble's doing? One of the things he's doing, Kibble is extending the work of Utiyama. And Kibble says, well, listen, Utiyama just did the Lorentz group. It's a 6-parameter group, but it's not the complete symmetry group of space-time. There's a bigger group called the Poincaré group, and it has 4 additional things to it in the algebra. Instead of 6 parameters, it has an extra 10 parameters. Okay, so Kibble, and I sort of I'm like Parsival. I didn't quite understand everything, but I understand it now because it's been in my subconscious 50 years, and it took a while, especially since these ideas are being suppressed because of what Eric Weinstein says. So in any case, so Kibble says, hey, guess what? I do the Emmy another trick. I do exactly what Utiyama did, but I do it with a bigger group, which is still a symmetry group of space-time. So that's why we're doing it. Guess what? You get a new field. You get what's called torsion, the torsion field. The torsion field, okay? But in addition, so there's Einstein gets what's called the curvature field. It's also called, in crystal physics, as an analogy, turns out that the crystallographers from the 19th century, they developed the tensor calculus that Einstein needed to relativity. But the crystallographers were only doing 3-dimensional space. So when you do crystallography, but in 4-dimensional space-time, then you get relativity theory. But the math is the same basically. Just going from a 4-dimensional space to with positive definite signature to a Minkowski 4-dimensional space-time with an indefinite signature. In any case, so the point is. Guess what? So now it turns out when Einstein in 1915 did his equations, there was no quantum mechanics. Quantum mechanics was just being developed. It took another 10 years before there was quantum mechanics. And then in the 1920s, when they finally got enough quantum mechanics, you had Dirac and people like that, and they discovered what's called quantum mechanical spin. The quantum mechanical flow, the electron has a quantized spin. The electron has a spin of 1/2. The protons and neutrons, they have spin of 1. Quantum mechanical spin, okay? And it has these strange properties. But Einstein never knew that in 1915. But guess what? And this is something, all right, now. So it turns out that the quantum mechanical spin couples to the torsion. If the quantum mechanical spin creates the torsion fields. Ordinary translational, ordinary motion through space, that creates the curvature gravity field. But you now have 2 fields instead of 1. Okay? And all these guys, Eric Davis, all these guys who talk about these things, they don't know about torsion. They don't seem to know about it. or they don't use it. So, and even most of the people doing physics, they don't include torsion, and that's a big mistake. That's what's missing. Now it turns out it's even more than that. In the last 2 years, because this guy named Roger Penrose, who got a Nobel Prize with Stephen Hawking about 2 years ago for black holes, and another coincidence. And of course, none of this is really coincidence. In 1971, I'm visiting. I'm a researcher. I had my PhD by then. I'm visiting London, David Bohm's group at University of London, Birkbeck College, right by the British Museum there on Gower Street, and Bloomsbury. And there is a young Roger Penrose, and he's talking about his theory of twisters. And Roger's giving a seminar, like a course, I guess once a week. And it was just, it was a small, I think there was maybe 5 or 6 of us, and I was sitting and listening to Roger talk about his twister. I didn't quite understand it, but, obviously certain things are, filtering into my subconscious mind. And so it turns out that the twisters have a symmetry group. It's called the conformal group. And guess what? It has 15 parameters in it. So the Lorentz group of special relativity, which has 6 parameters in it, right? That's what Uchiyama did and got Einstein's 1915 field equation. Then Kibble in the 60s, when I happened to just be there, right when he was doing it, so, he extends it to the 10-parameter group, and he gets the additional torsion field. And then, guess what? I finally realized about 2 years ago, I realized, why don't I do what Kibble did, except I'll use Emmy Nuthers 2 theorems and do it to Roger Penrose's conformal group. Why do that? Because that's the biggest possible symmetry group of 4-dimensional space-time. So why stop? Einstein didn't realize at the time that he was just doing group theory, symmetry theory. Okay, so let's go to the max. Why stop? Go to the whole pie. Why take a piece of the pie? Let's take a whole pie, right? So you do that. Guess what? You get in addition to, you have the curvature field of Einstein 1915. You got the torsion field of Kibble 1960s, early about 1962 first, and then 1966 when I was there, 1960s. And then when you do what I decide to do it, and even Roger never did it. I was surprised. Roger could have done this 30 years ago. He would have done it, much faster than me. He's a much better mathematician, but he didn't have the idea to do it. But you just do it, and guess what happens? You get 4 new fields, what are called conformal acceleration fields. They explain Hawking's evaporation of black holes. They explain the Hawking radiation. That's what you need that for. And then you get what's called a dilation. You get the 15th thing, and that may be the Higgs particle. That might be the Higgs that explains the mass, the origin of mass of quarks. The W mesons and stuff like that. So there it is, and it's very beautiful. Okay, now, but here's the other big thing. The other big thing, I got to drink some water. Are you guys there? Are you listening?
Everybody's listening to you, Doc.
They're listening. Okay, so now you understand something. I got to tell you, now we get into the high strangeness. Paranormal. Back in 1970, if you've read The Hippies Save Physics, David Kaiser's the MIT guy. With the CIA, the CIA's been involved in all my work, right? Basically, why is that? I went to an Ivy League school in the 50s, late 50s, right? The Central Intelligence Agency is a creation of the Ivy League schools back then, the WASP establishment. They're not so established anymore, but back then, that's the way it was, okay? And also, my professors built the atomic bomb. So, of course, Cornell University, Ivy League school, which houses a lot of the guys who built the atomic bomb in the physics department, is going to be surrounded by FBI, especially some of them were connected with Oppenheimer. They all were communists. The whole, this is the McCarthy era, the whole thing. and also the Ivy League. The Central Intelligence Agency is a creation of Yale University. They're all skull and bones. Bohemian Grove, all that. Yeah, I've been to Bohemian Club too. Okay, here in San Francisco. Okay, it's all. Yeah, it was all our intelligence community, and it was all created by MI6, the Brits. Everything. If you go back to the 30s and James Jesus Angleton, all this. Okay, so the point is, I'm part of this Ivy League elite thing, and so of course I'm being watched from day one. Also, I was part of an army. It's a whole thing. Go back, even as a child, my grandfather was in the army, and I was sent to Cornell on basically on military scholarships. The whole thing. So this is all. I was in the Civil Air Patrol. So there's all this military spooky stuff. In fact, I think I met Phil Corso when I was 10 years old. My grandfather was in the army. I think I remember meeting Phil Corso. And he telling me about what this would have been like 1950, maybe for 1951 in New York, in Manhattan, at the Army Quartermaster Corps where my grandfather worked. And I was encouraged to think about flying saucers by the United States Army back when I was a 10-year-old, okay? And then in high school, I was in a special program at Columbia, and they sent me to... Okay, this whole background, okay? There's no coincidence. And so... So what happens is, if you look through the pattern of my life, I'm 86 years old. Okay, my memories go back almost 80 years. As I can remember as a little kid. So the point is this: things were happening. My life has been directed. I call this the Destiny Matrix. And it's directed by the same NHI that are controlling the flying saucers, right? This is no coincidence. There's too many synchronicities. That, I'm like in the right spot at the right time to learn. I had this piece of physics, that piece of physics. I was Werner Heisenberg in Munich. I'm with John Wheeler. I'm with Richard Feynman. I'm at Hans Bethe. I'm with Herbert Froelich with the Froelich condensate. It's like I'm just like wandering through, and I'm being given information, because it's being manipulated by a higher power. That's the only way to think about it. I mean, that's the only thing that makes sense. All right. So the point is this. All right, getting back to the physics, the torsion. It turns out the thing which I know, which Eric Davis and Hal Puthoff, they don't know. None of these name who they are. Travis Taylor, any of them. They don't know this, and I won't go into all the details how I know it, but I have to with a guy named Ray Chow, who's a professor at Berkeley. But I won't go into all the details because I'm getting tired. But the thing is this: it turns out the coupling, the effective gravity coupling for torsion, for spin, for quantum mechanical spins, is much stronger than the coupling that Einstein uses for the energy, for the stress energy tensor source. That what's called the spin density. It's a quantum mechanical correction. This quantum mechanical effect. It turns out that the coupling of quantum mechanical spin to gravity is as big as electromagnetism. It's like 40 powers of 10 or so, roughly speaking, depending on the system, bigger. And that's what they're missing. And that's what we got, which nobody else has. Okay? And that was only discovered in about not more than 2 years, maybe 1 year ago. It finally clicked. It clicked because I thought Ray Chow, I thought this is what he was saying. But it turns out it was not what it's close to what he was saying, but it's not quite what he was saying. We won't go into all details. But finally, so this is what I have, which nobody else has. Okay? So the point is this, and this has been out on Grok, before it went, it's kind of secret now, but it's not that secret. The point is this, that even though, say there's somebody in this audience who's a PhD level physicist who really understands what I'm talking about, so they can quickly reproduce the equations we have, but they don't have about $5 or $6 billion to make it into a machine. So, the Russians have it, the Chinese have it, and they may already have it. Okay. And also, by the way, this stuff is time travel. You understand? If you control gravity, we're talking about time machines. This thing from the future, the time travel. There's a guy, Michael Masters, you all know about the evolutionary biologist in Montana, who has a book saying that the ETs, they're from the future. Just exactly what I'm saying. Okay, but he's saying it because of evolutionary biology, but he's come to the same final conclusion that I came from the physics. So these are two independent disciplines that are leading to the same conclusion. So the point is, we understand it all, and even if some of you guys can understand what I'm talking about, the point is, unless you're a billionaire, you can't do anything with it. So what? Okay, this equals MC squared, right? Everybody, Hitler knew E equals that, but Hitler in 1940 understood there could be an atomic bomb, and he had Werner Heisenberg try to make the atomic bomb, but Heisenberg didn't make it, or maybe seven. Who knows? There are different. There's controversy about that. So the point is, knowing the equations, understanding the physics, and changing that into a operational technology, either a bomb or a plane, a weapon, whatever. That takes a lot of money and industrialization. So that's what. So right now, I finally there are billionaire industrialists who understand that Jack Sarfatti has solved the damn problem, and these other assholes haven't. I'm the only asshole who solved it, and they're putting their money into this. So there we are. Okay. Now the question: I'm supposed to be briefing President Trump. I don't know what's going to happen with President Trump. Whether he's going to lose the midterms, and then maybe it'll be President Vance. We don't know what's going to happen. But in the meantime, we don't care because it's being done. We don't need any government money right now. Okay. So are there any other questions? I think that pretty much explains it. Well, I didn't talk about the consciousness and the paranormal stuff. Oh, and also that there's one other thing. That they talk interdimensionals. The interdimensionals. Is it David Grush talks about it, and is it Congresswoman Anna Luna? Yeah. She's talking about it, and Tim Burchett. They're talking. Yeah. Well, there may be something to that. And what I suggest that everybody watch on Netflix, watch Philip Dick's science fiction thing called The Man in the High Castle. It's about parallel worlds, so it's about a parallel universe. We're connected by a wormhole, and in that parallel universe, the Nazis won the war, and the United States is under the control. Half the eastern part of the United States is Hitler. It's him, whatever. The Nazis control the eastern United States. There's a free zone in the Midwest, Montana, and the Pacific is Japan. Japan controls it. And in this parallel universe, Heisenberg got the bomb before we got the bomb, and Hitler bombed. They bombed the A bomb. They nuked Washington, D.C., and that's how they won. Okay, but in any case, it's a really good series, 4 seasons. It's done very realistically. And guess what? And by the way, Philip Dick, who wrote it, used to come to my seminars in North Beach, San Francisco, I'm told. But I didn't know he was there, but apparently he used to learn. So even the stuff I'm talking about has something to do with the creation of that series. See, there's all. Also, I was involved with Francis Ford Coppola. I introduced Jacques Vallée in Close Encounters of the Third Kind with Spielberg. All that kind of stuff. Okay, all these science fiction movies, Star Trek. Gene Roddenberry was involved in our group, with Andrea Parr and Sherry Keller and all. You got to read How Hippie Say Physics, by David Kaiser. Some of the stories there. The point is, all these science fiction movies, even H.G. Wells' War of the Worlds, all these science fiction movies, they're not just fiction. Timothy Leary used to call them the science faction. They are. The world really is that way. More that way. It's more okay. And the point is, when David Grush and all these guys, these interdimensionals, they could be coming from parallel universes. About this thing called, what is it called? The effect, the Mandela. The Mandela effect. Yeah. I'll give you an example. Okay. Just the other day, in fact, just yesterday, I went into my kitchen. And the pot, this is funny. It's just, so maybe it happened because I had to tell the story now. Okay, so I'm boiling water because I'm making some pasta. I'm making some from Luca Delicatessen, very good delicatessen. I'm making meat ravioli. Okay, and I look at the pot. You know, a pot to piss in, right? I look at the pot that you boil the water in. It's not the same pot I thought I had. I thought I had a blue pot. This pot is like, it's more aluminum. It's bigger. It doesn't seem to be the same pot. Okay, so maybe what am I getting senile like Donald Trump perhaps, Joe Biden? No, but. And I'm looking at this damn pot, and I have a friend who cleans up the house for me. I go up my girlfriend who owns the building. I said, did you borrow this pot? Change it with this other pot? So I don't know. So the point is this: I have a recent memory, that the pot I used to use is not the pot I'm using now. Okay, so I'm not having delusions in other things. I'm pretty sharp, I'm pretty grounded in reality here. So what could have happened? Of course, it could be a false memory, or I'm remembering I had this pot in a parallel universe. The Mandela effect, you see, and maybe it happened for a reason, because I'm telling you this story now. Now, there's the Mandela effect. So apparently it's a real effect that psychologists have studied, where millions of people seem to remember that Mandela died in prison in South Africa. They don't remember that. They don't remember that he was liberated, became the president of South Africa, right? But people have different memories, and it's not just that. There are other things where there are large groups of people who could swear it was. So what it is now there's a guy at MIT. Guy named Max Tegmark. He's a big professor. He has as many worlds. He calls himself Mad Max, like the Mad Max, in movies, and that they take this seriously. There are a lot of physicists, mainstream physicists, who take this many worlds stuff seriously, but they try to say, well, then you have these parallel universes, but they can't connect with each other. But actually, they can connect with each other. If you use, there's a whole other story here. If you use ordinary quantum mechanics, they can't. But this is just the way that Einstein's general relativity was an incomplete theory. So is the current day quantum mechanics. And post quantum mechanics is the quantum mechanics, as my conformal group theory is to the general relativity theory. It just completes it. They're just incomplete descriptions of reality. In any case, so the point is this. We have evidence. A lot of the high spooky stuff that's happening can be because some of these visitors, some of these things, they're coming from parallel universes. And so what I recommend that you all watch Man in the High Castle, because it may be a lot closer to reality than you think. All right. Now, I think I've said enough. Now, are there any questions based on what I've just said?
There's a couple people with their hands up, but I got a question.
What? Okay, talk louder because I can't hear.
I've got a question for you. So I actually went back when you were mentioning.
Wait a minute. Something happened. I got to try to increase the volume. Hang on. Yeah, go ahead.
About a month ago, when you mentioned The Man in the High Castle, I went back and rewatched it again. Looking at it from listening to some of your lectures.
Yeah.
So that Mandela effect, if it's related to like The Man in the High Castle, that the reason why only some people recognize it.
I'm losing you.
Only some people recognize the Mandela
Wait
effect.
a second.
If it's multidimensional, because those individuals are alive.
Yeah, too bad. Go ahead, talk again. We're being sabotaged, I'm pretty sure, because we're getting too close to reality here.
So
I'm pretty sure the deep state's gonna. Can you hear me?
Yeah. So based on the novel Man on a High Castle, and we're talking about the Mandela effect, like you, with the pot that changed. That not everybody has experienced this, and based on that novel, it's because those that remember things changing are alive in another dimension where others may not be, or not considered NPCs, like in a video game. They're not really players. They're more like, I don't want to say irrelevant, but not as important as those that remember the changes from the dimensional shift?
Yeah, well, maybe, but the point is that there is, there's prima facie, there is evidence that the timelines, okay, in ordinary, in real physics of the many worlds, the worlds split, but they also come together. They merge. They go both ways. They divide and then they fuse. Okay, so it could be, that different people, our memories are from different timelines, and so we can explain that. So the point is, we have to take all that seriously. There's a lot of spooky stuff going on. And in fact, I think, I'll tell you what I think personally. The world is going crazy right now. I mean, look, we have, Donald Trump seems to be, going off. He's insulting the Pope. By the way, I'm basically a supporter of Donald Trump. I was, but now it's a little hard to support what he's doing right now, especially with the Iran. But so Donald Trump seems to be going nuts, but he's not the only one. A lot of our political leaders, almost everybody in Europe, they're all like doing self-destructive things, stupid things. And why is that? Now there's Louis Elizondo has done two good things. Louis. The slides. He has the slides with the 5 observables, which is a nice slide, summarizes, what I'm talking about. The instant acceleration and the transmit, all that stuff. But he also has slide 9, which is kind of based on stuff that, I did in 1970s, and I got to give Hal Puthoff credit, Russell Targ, all these guys, with the Project Stargate, remote viewing, all that stuff. And in Elizondo slide 9, he's talking about psychotronic mind control, where the leaders their minds can be manipulated, become puppets, invasion of the body snatchers, that kind of thing. That seems to be happening now. In other words, I think a case can be made that it's war. It literally is H.G. Wells' War of the Worlds, but psychotronically. I think that our leaders, most of our leaders, are not in their right. They're literally, what in the Middle Ages they said they're demonically possessed, and they're doing things that are stupid, and that it can lead us to a nuclear war. Because I think there are certain hostile ETs that want us to destroy ourselves in a nuclear war. Okay. Now I think there are other ETs. There's all that. What's that guy who wrote the book? About the neutralizing the nukes. The guy. There's evidence for that too. And in fact, I know how to do that. And part of Manhattan Project 2.0 is gravity beam weapons that will disable nukes, even in submarines, even underground in the silos, because gravity beams can get places where ordinary electromagnetic beams cannot get. Okay, and that's this guy, Ray Chow. That's Texas Space in Dallas, that with Juan Faria and Ray Chow and Nathan N. and all these guys. They're working on sort of that aspect of it. Though they may not realize they're working with that, but that's if they succeed, that's what it's going to lead to. And I also happen to know that such weapons are operational, but they're not human. By certain ETs have such weapons. They have. There's a guy named Matt Visser who's a top physicist in New Zealand, Christchurch, and he published a paper on gravity beam weapons. He calls them stressor beams, pressor beams, and tractor beams. But it's a theoretical paper, but Visser doesn't know about the spin coupling, so he thinks, they're there in principle. That it's too weak, we'll never make them. But the fact is that some people have them, but not humans. And these other beings from maybe alternate timelines. Okay. And so something like the man in the high castle, where they're trying to take over, that could be happening. It's in other words, the physics. P.K. Dick was influenced by Jack Sarfatti's ideas. P.K. Dick was a friend of people who I was connected with. Of Robert Wilson, who wrote the Illuminatus, novels, Cosmic Trick, and stuff like that. Walter Breen, who was one of my high school mentors, part of the Army project. They all knew, P.K. Dick was part of their circle. And Marion Zimmer Bradley with Avalon Smith. So this whole Berkeley thing in the 60s and 70s, so there's no coincidence. You see. And okay, so any other questions?
Yes, we go.
Yeah, what? I can't hear you.
One more hand up. Go ahead, Auntie.
What?
Yo, Mav,
Let's see if I can hear.
I have 3 questions, but in order to respect time, do we have time for 3, or do you want me to limit it to 1?
I'm sorry, what? Say that again?
Just go ahead with your first question, Auntie, and we'll go from there.
Okay, well, I will do the first question, which I think everybody will appreciate. We're all here to learn. We're all here for science, which is why we are listening to you.
Yeah.
But we are also here to make money. So what industrial material manufacturers do you contract with? Like, because I know your stuff is like kind of top secret, but obviously in order to construct these types of machines, you need to contract with pretty large material manufacturers. Do you have the stock tickers for those? Because I would love to.
Who?
He wants to know if what you're building, if you have the stock ticker information, so he can invest in it.
No, but we're not at that stage. I mean, there's not. All I know is there is. All I know is this. What I can tell you is that the rare earths are very important. The rare earths, but China controls the rare earths. Without the rare earths, we can't do anything. And, well, you need rare earths, just ordinary weapons, and you definitely need them for the advanced, for the Tic Tac, for UAP weaponry and gravity weapons. You need rare earths. You need yttrium. You need bismuth. Well, yeah, I don't know if that's a rare earth, but you need. You definitely need yttrium for sure. I can tell you that, but. You're not going to be making. There's nothing useful I can tell you how to make money right now. It's premature.
Thank you. Does that answer for you, Auntie?
Well, yeah, that was definitely my first.
I'll tell you one thing. Don't invest in rockets.
Not even the Russian. I mean, not even. So is this even below you, like the Russian plasma, 30-day rocket? Do you know anything about that? What they've been doing? Is that still going to be?
Yeah, if it's a rocket, listen. If it's a rocket schmocket, forget it.
Right, but they're using they're using hydrogen
I mean, they're
plasma.
okay for certain limited uses, but the point is, you're not going to use rockets to even get to Mars. It's stupid, and you certainly can't get to the stars in a rocket. We can get to exoplanets and interstellar systems within our lifetime and back. In a practical way, because these guys can do. That's what warp drive is all about. Your wormholes, portals, stargates. All that it's real. Well, I got a guy. There's an Italian guy now named Rodolfo Rossetti. He's a young man, I guess his 30s, and I'm going to be meeting with him in Rome in a couple of weeks. And he has taken my theory, my conformal group gauge theory. I've taken a piece of it. I think maybe just a part. I don't fully understand his details yet, but he seems to know what he's doing. At least there's 50-50 chance he's right. But here's a practical way using RF generators to generate exactly what's in the Man in the High Castle. That's the portal. Something like that. Which can, in principle, it can connect to an exoplanet. Or maybe an alternate timeline. Who the hell knows? I don't know. But the point is, all that stuff, we're getting there. It's not really fiction. It's Timothy Leary used to tell me it's science fiction. It's sort of halfway between fiction and fact. Okay, call it the science fiction. We're getting closer and closer. Even Elon Musk has stolen some of my ideas, some of my phrases. I'm the guy who said we're going to make Star Trek real. Now Elon Musk is saying make Star Trek real. I'm the guy who said let's create the real Starfleet Academy at the Presidio. I live right here. I live right by the Presidio, very close to it. And Elon Musk saying he wants to start, Starfleet Academy. So the point is that at some point, and also I work with a guy. One of the guys I work with, I'm not going to say his name, but he's a retired GS-15 NASA guy, and he is the guy, he and his wife, who's also a NASA scientist, they were NASA Ames, back when Elon was with Peter Thiel doing PayPal, all these guys, it was my guy I worked with for 30 years who got Elon to do SpaceX, because engineers know about, they didn't know about what we know now, and the Mars project. Okay, so at some point Elon's going to be part of our thing. So whoever did that poster makes it look as though Elon is working with Jack Sarfatti now. No, maybe in a parallel universe he is, but I didn't make that diagram, so I don't know who did it. It's very good, whoever did it.
It's almost guaranteed it's happening, right?
It's like they're just saying what, maybe it's coming from the future. Maybe in a year from now, Elon will be officially part of it. Who knows? I don't know. But if he's smart, he will be. If not, he'll be left behind. Okay. What's the next question?
Yeah, this is my last one. If I can't make money before you have your wormhole traveler, I got one last question for you. In your opinion, do you think that the single state or the triplet state will be the most effective paired particle communication?
Oh, wait, well, that question is that, I think I know. I mean, there's a whole thing. He's been reading some of my stuff. There is, now, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, because you're very low, but I hope you can hear me louder. There's a couple of things with that. There is, but this is high energy physics. The singlet state, no good. Okay, if you want to create a torsion field, that's a fairly good question. I guess the guy's been reading some of my stuff with some understanding. If you have a material, say you have metamaterial, the fuselage of these things are made out of certain artificial metamaterials, right? And that metamaterial has to generate a strong torsion field, because the torsion field couples strongly to the gravity field, to the warp field. You need a torsion, you need a spin. You need, if you're only talking about pairs of spins, pairs of electron or nucleon spins, they spin 1/2. So the spin singlet is spin 0. Like in quantum mechanics, 1/2 plus 1/2 equals 0 and also equals 1. What's called the quantum mechanical, it's called the rules of angular momentum, the Clebsch-Gordon coefficients for the rotational group. In any case, but to make it simple, 1/2 plus 1/2 in quantum mechanics is equal to 0 or 1. Okay, the 0 is the spin singlet. The 1 is the spin triplet. In other words, spins quantized. With a spin 1/2 along any direction in space, it's either up or it's down. Like 1 or 0, like a bit of, except it's a quantum bit, it's not a classical bit. So when the spins are anti-parallel, that's spin 0, and that's no good. Spin 0, a singlet cannot create a torsion field. So it's got to be triplets. It's got to be or actually what we have, what are called spin waves. We have to have what are called magnons, and you have to look at the spin wave magnons and yttrium, iron, garnet, stuff like that. And yttrium's a rare earth, all that stuff. So the answer is that you have to have triplets. Now, there's another place that the triplets come in. It has nothing to do with technology. It has to do with why there is something rather than nothing. Why is there something rather than nothing? But what that means in physics, normally we think in most experiments, when you create antiparticles, you have an equal number of particles and antiparticles. So the idea is that in the beginning of our observable universe, the initial singularity leading to the Big Bang and all that, there's the problem. Why? How come there wasn't an equal amount of matter and antimatter? And if that would have happened, then the universe would just consist of light, photons, and we wouldn't be around. There'd be no ordinary matter. And so there was what causes the asymmetry? What causes the asymmetry? And it turns out that the simplest answer to this, roughly speaking, is that because of the weak force, the weak what are called the beta decay force, there's what's called parity non-conservation, like left is different, left-hand screw is different from right-hand screw. I think neutrinos are all left-handed screws. antineutrinos are right-handed screws. But this, so there was this parity violation, and when you apply the parity violation to the quantum mechanical vacuum, because in the simplest thing, you had the Dirac in the 1930s, you had what's called the Dirac-C, where the quantum mechanical vacuum, to a first approximation, let's just consider the electrons. The electrons are the lightest particles, so it turns out they're the most important. The electron's the most important particle in creating the universe and creating the vacuum. And inside the vacuum, you have what's called the Dirac-C, and the Dirac-C is what's called a virtual electron-positron plasma. Okay, and normally everybody thinks that the virtual electron, see, in quantum field theory, you have what are called real particles and virtual particles. The real particles are like electromagnetic waves are real photons, gravity waves are real gravitons, but what are called the near fields, like the fields of power systems, generators, the fields in your Bluetooth is a near field, like Bluetooth. Those are near fields. Those are coherent states of virtual photons. So they're virtual particles and they're real particles, and there's a mathematical distinction between them. There are also physical distinctions. Turns out that for virtual photons have 3 states of polarization. They have what are called two like if you have a photon moving in a certain direction in space, at the plane at right angles to that propagation direction, there are two transverse polarization states. Okay, but the real photon that propagates to infinity, like radiation fields, they only have 2 transverse polarization states. But on the contrary, the near field, like the Bluetooth field or the Tesla, whatever Tesla, these near fields stuff in power systems engineering, all our local, electric motors in your cars and Tesla cars, those are all basically near fields, not radiation. And those have, the photons there have a 3rd degree, what's called longitudinal scalar. May have heard this, Tom. So they have an extra degree of polarization. Gravity waves are spin 2, so it turns out there are 5. It's 2s plus 1, where s is the spin. So they have 5 polarization states. But gravity waves themselves, if they're massless, they only have 2 polarization states. But but now it turns out that the gravity that is created inside the metamaterial thin shell fuselages of these UAPs, those gravitons have mass. They have what I call Yukawa. They have mass. That's another thing. And it's because they have mass that listen, there's a big thing that this explains. Okay, so say you have a tic-tac that's going 20,000 miles an hour, right? And it does a fast right hit turn, and this, how is it able to do that? But when simple physicists like Kevin Knuth and this guy Matt, these guys at Albany, they're okay, but their calculations are correct, but they're using the wrong physics. They get the right answers to the wrong questions. So they say in order to account for what Commander Fravor and those guys are seeing, that you have to have tremendous amounts of energy, there's tremendous amounts of heat, and the disruption of the atmosphere, and they don't see that. That's because the gravitational fields inside these materials are what are called virtual massive gravitons, and they have what's called Yukawa decay, so they're confined inside the material. They couple to the external gravity field of the Earth, but they don't extend beyond the material. So and it's called the Meissner effect. It's similar to what happens in superconductors and things like that. So in any case, so we understand all that. Conceptually, we have a coherent narrative. There is nothing that they can show us that we don't understand, because it's pretty elementary. And there's also the reverse Doppler. Okay, normally, if say an ordinary rocket is coming toward you, okay, you have what's called the Doppler effect. So, like if a locomotive is coming toward you, the whistle of the locomotive sounds higher pitch. And when it's going away from you, it has a lower pitch, right? So coming toward you, you have a Doppler blue shift, and going away from you, you have a Doppler red shift. Guess what? Warp drive, just the opposite. If a UFO is coming toward you, okay, you're going to see a red shift. If it's going away from you, you're going to see a blue shift. So that also means if you stand under a hovering UFO in warp drive, you're going to die from radiation sickness. Why is that? Because if the thing is hovering, it has anti-gravity. There's an anti-gravity blue shift, and the blue shift is going to ionize, give energy to all the air molecules around you. In fact, this is what happened at Skinwalker Ranch, right? This is what Travis Taylor, if you read, says he got, they were all getting radiation sickness up there because they have this cloaked, what seems to be a UFO about 1,000 meters, 1,000 feet above, whatever, and they were standing under and they got sick. Some guy, his brain was swelling, all that stuff. It was all from this stuff. So, and there's all Rendlesham, the same thing. So we understand there isn't one thing we don't understand. You cannot give me any phenomenon that I cannot explain with SO24 conformal gauge field gravity and the big spin coupling I've been telling you. That's it. We got it. It's pretty simple. It's elementary. But these schmucks don't, they're going around, we don't understand 1,000 years. I mean, like, they're idiots. I'm dealing with a bunch of idiots. Schmucks. All right, it's frustrating. It's frustrating, but the thing is so fucking simple, and these idiots, Ross Coulthart, he's an idiot. They're all schmucks. They're all, Jesse Michaels, a schmuck. Tim Venter, a schmuck. They're schmucks interviewing other schmucks. Sorry, but that's the way it is.
I don't want to get you fired up.
All right, okay. I can't hear. I don't know if you guys heard me. No, I can't hear. So what's the next? What's the next question?
Someone had.
Except you're very low. I don't know why. Wait a second. It's too bad you can't just send me a text, because if I saw it visually, I could. Can't you text me? Talk into the text. Let me see if I can. I guess you can't do it because you're talking. Okay. So what's the next question?
Someone had posted in the comments about you debating Eric Davis.
What about Eric Davis? He's a nice guy. I like him actually, but we insult each other, but it's all the theater. He's a nice guy, but he's not very smart. Eric Davis is very good. He's an editor. He's basically, he takes other people's ideas and he writes he's able to collate. He's an editor. He's basically an editor. He's not an original thinker in physics. He's never invented anything important in physics. He's never had an original idea in physics. Okay? And he's a hack guy. I think he was in the Air Force or something, and he went to like an Air Force school, and then he finally got a PhD from the University of Arizona. Okay. Now, he knows certain things. He knows general relativity up to a point. He doesn't understand anything that I've been talking about, I don't think, unless he's been reading me. Recently, he could understand it if he did his homework, but he's now I think what Eric Davis says when he said he interviewed this Army general or admiral, whatever the hell, Admiral Wilson. I believe Eric is telling the truth about that, and I also agree when Eric says that he knows of 3 kinds of alien species. I know of 4. He knows of 3. I was showing to the military. I know of at least 1 more that he knows. So we basically agree on a lot of things, but his understanding of physics is very limited. Okay. Now, does that explain? I didn't really understand all I heard was Eric Davis. Why don't you repeat the question?
I had somebody comment that he challenged you in a debate or something, and they want to know if you're willing to have. Wait a minute.
Let me see if I can see. Can I see comments? Wait a minute. What's going on? Fuck.
I could send it to you afterwards if you want.
What's that?
I can send it to you in a DM after.
Yeah. But just say the question. Let me see if I can get the question. What is the comment?
It was just asking if you'd be willing to debate Eric Davis.
Talk louder. You got to really yell.
Debate. They want to know if you're willing to.
Can you get your voice closer to or put the phones closer together or something?
Yeah, it's as close as it can get. Eric Davis wanted to know about having a debate with you, if you would be willing to debate him.
But Eric wants to debate me? I'll debate him anytime.
That was the question.
What was the question? The question is,
Debate.
Will I debate Eric Davis? Yeah, I'll debate Eric Davis anytime he wants to.
That was the question. There you go.
What?
That was the question in the comments, so you answered it.
Yeah, okay. Let me just, what's going on here?
I think we got one more question. I don't want to keep you too long. Alien Protocol, go ahead.
Hey, brother. Thank you for having the space. Thank you, Jack, for your time. About 15 years ago, I did some remote viewing stuff for you about a anti-gravity project that Hal put off and others were involved in, and it ended up being the Firmage debacle. And you know, I really admire your contribution to physics, your spirit, your tenacity, your, you know, just unabashed logic about talking about the things like in slide 9. It's very prescient of you. Also mentioned in slide 9 was instantaneous sensor disassembly and other really fascinating things. So you know about these combination of converging factors, and you're well known for having great innovative ideas. Why do you think you have not been included in some of the top exotic technology projects?
Okay, you know what? With the other guy, with you, repeat what he said. You know what?
He basically said, why do you feel you haven't been included in some of these black projects with your expertise?
Are you asking me why have I been excluded from black projects?
Yes.
Is that the question?
Yes.
I've been excluded because they're all crooks and loons. You ask Ron Pandolfi from the Central Intelligence Agency because because they're stealing money. They're stealing money. They're grifters. They know if they get a guy like me, I'll tell them what schmucks they are. Because they got nothing. They got pupkis. They got nothing. And I hope to be proved wrong. Let them prove me wrong. They got nothing. They're taking trillions of dollars and they got nothing to show for it. That's why. And also, the whole thing's stupid. Yeah, I know. Okay, listen. The reason that they've been failing, the reason that in 80 years they come up with bupkis, with shit, with nothing, is because of this secrecy, this classification, compartmentalization. That the left-handers know the right. They're a bunch of stupid idiots. Now it turns out that apparently the Russians are not quite. They're not quite as compartmentalized. So that's why I'm wondering. I'm wondering if some of these drones that they're seeing, you know, they could be Russian drones and Chinese drones. And who needs a black guy? I don't need those assholes. They need me. They don't know anything. I know I sound like an arrogant asshole, and I am. But the fact is, the physics is on my. You know, I mean, the fact is, I got the right stuff, and they got nothing. In terms of understanding, yeah, they may have equipment, and the conscious AI may allow them to fly the machines. They have something. They have these alien reproduction vehicles, you know, like very primitive types of technology, but they don't understand how it works. They don't get it. And that's why, because if they had it, they would have used it by now. Do you honestly think that Donald Trump would not show off these weapons if he had them? And do you think he would not use them in Ukraine, not use them against the Iranians? And, you know, do you think if Donald Trump had the weapons I'm talking about, he wouldn't go up to Putin and say, look, I got this stuff, and now you better just listen to me? Of course he would. But he doesn't have it. And also Putin doesn't have it. Well, Putin has it. No, I don't. Well, Putin's a little bit more so. I doubt that Putin has it also because they invited me. You know, the fact of the matter, I was invited to Moscow State 2 years ago to lecture on the very things I'm talking to you guys. Also, the Russians came and videoed me on all this stuff when Obama was president twice. They came twice. Of course, back then, I didn't know then, 10 years ago, what I know now. There's been a big breakthrough the last year or two. So the point about the black projects, that all they are, they're stealing a lot of money, okay? And if I ever get a chance to go to Mar-a-Lago, I was supposed to go twice, and they had to cancel for various reasons. If I ever get a chance to sit down with the president, and I will talk to him and tell him the truth. Okay, but what I think, and then he can do whatever whatever he thinks. He can do what he wants. I'm 86 years old. I don't give a shit. Okay, tell him the truth. Okay, that's how I see it. All right. Now, any other questions?
No, that's it. That's it, Doc.
Okay, I wish. Now, this is just. I don't know. Okay, guys. So, too bad that it's not a better program. But next time, why don't you just do Zoom? Zoom works. My Zoom will work. Okay, just do a Zoom. This X Space thing is a bunch of crap. If I ever get to talk to Elon, I'll tell him it's a bunch of crap. He should at least do it. They should have a Zoom. They could do an X with a Zoom with video. Why do this stupid thing that doesn't even work half the time? Okay, is that it? Should I hang up?
That's all. Thank you so much.
Okay, maybe I'll be able to hear myself when I do hear the tape part. Okay, bye.
All right, appreciate you. Thank you. All right, everyone. Sorry for the technical problems, but I hope you had a good evening and learned a lot. I don't know if anyone here has questions or comments.
Thanks, Mav.
No, thank you all. Thank you all. Like I said, I don't know what happened. I've had X conversations with him before, and I've had him on Spaces and never had an issue. Maybe it's the topic. He's just, man, he's a national treasure for sure. So any chance I get an opportunity to speak with him, I truly enjoy it. And now he's listening. Watch now, it works.
Hey, wait a minute. I can hear. Can you hear me?
No way. You can hear us now?
Hey, wait a minute. When I turn on the microphone, you can hear me.
Yes. Can you hear us? Maybe not.
Yo, what a way to troll you right at the end.
Yeah, he's trolling me right at the end. Yeah, just kidding. I can hear you the whole time, right? All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us here tonight. Pinned up top, we have another great space tomorrow night. We have Dr. Bach from Germany to talk about AI and consciousness. So if you're into AI and AGI, we'll have him on tomorrow night, 7.
Hey, listen, wait, stop for a second before we end. Since I can hear, is there any last intelligent question? Since I can now hear you, let's.
Were you trolling me this whole time?
Who?
You.
Me? No. What do you mean trolling you? No, of course not.
Of course, right at the end, X works now, right?
Yeah, I don't look. It suddenly started working. I went back. I'm on my laptop. I'm looking at the screen of my laptop, and things seem to be working. So, are there any last minute questions since I can hear now?
Sure. I think we got Gene. Go ahead, Gene or Jean.
Yeah, I was wondering if you had any ideas about missing time events that.
Yes, of course. I have. When I was a kid, I tell that thing where when I'm 12 years old or 13 years, 1952, and the phone rings and it says it's a conscious artificial intelligence on board a spacecraft from the future, and they want to teach me that da 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 da, and I remembered. I tell that story. You could hear the CIA recording in 1973. Back in 1972 rather. Back in 1952, it said I was beginning to meet the other guys in 20 years. And that's when I met Hal Puthoff and Russell Targ and Edgar Mitchell, Uri Geller, all these guys, at SRI. That's all in how the hippie say physics. And the CIA did a tape recording of that. And I even posted some of it. Somebody sent me part of the CIA recording from 1972. And you'll hear me in 1972 telling the story when I was a kid, how I was contacted by this thing saying it was a computer on board a spacecraft from the future. And you'll hear Russell Targ say, yeah, we think flying saucers are time machines from the future. You'll hear this is back, this is CIA thing, okay? So, but then you'll hear me talk about the one phone call. A year later, I find out through Andrea Paharic, Uri Geller, and my mother's reading about this stuff in this book that Paharic wrote, And she says, Jackie, Jack, do you remember when this happened to you? I said, what are you talking about, Ma? She said, don't you remember we got all those phone calls? My mother remembered I got 3 weeks of phone calls. I'm walking around glassy-eyed. She finally grabs the phone, and she hears the cold metallic voice too. Any case, the point is that my mother remembers weeks of phone calls. I'm hours on the phone. I'm walking around kind of, in my old world, and I have no memory of any of that. So I have missing time. Okay, is that what you meant?
Well, I was wondering if you could have any theories about what's going on there, like what.
Well, I don't know. No, I'm not a brain for that. You have to ask Gary Nolan. You have to ask Kit Green. You have to ask the brain scientists. There, guys. I'm not a brain scientist. That's just that's mind control, right? I'm a physicist. That's not my field of expertise. All I know is that I've experienced it myself, and it happens. It's happening to a lot of people, and so it's a real phenomenon which I directly can testify to. I don't have an explanation of it. Well, that they abduct people and then the people come back, because it's time travel, right? So you can have a person who has been away. Oh, let's take Jesus Christ. Let's just take like an example. So Jesus is on the cross, right? They almost kill him. Let's suppose he didn't die. They put him in the cave there, right? And they put the rock in front of the cave. An alien UFO comes down. The Star of Bethlehem is really an alien ship. Comes down. It puts them on board. Uses, they have all the modern medicine, and they patch up Jesus, right? And then because it's time travel, he could be, he's 33 years old. He can come back next week, still being 33 years old. Well, maybe he's 34 years old, okay? He's been away, what to us is 2,000 years. To him, it's only been like 6 months. And he comes back to second coming. It's the return of Jesus. So all that, you can conceive of that, right? And it's all physics. It's nothing supernatural there. It could happen. It could happen tomorrow. Okay. I'm not saying it will happen, but so that's one kind of missing time. But what happens? Amnesia happens. Who knows? But the thing is, okay. So when in '52 they said go to your fire escape, we'll send a ship to pick you up in 10 minutes. Well, what I remember is I ran downstairs, got three kids in my gang, and we went up to the fire escape and we waited. Nothing ever happened. But maybe they did come and take us kids and then put us back. We don't remember. That could be missing time. That I don't know. That's just a speculation. So does that,
Thank you. That's a great explanation. Thanks very much.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions now that we can hear each other?
Yeah, Jack, I got 2 questions for you.
Yeah.
One, I know you've mentioned before about the ETs, but is it possible too that there could be angels and demons and other things?
Okay, good question. Yes, there are many. It's Star Trek. It's Star Wars. It's like the bar. It's Star Wars because it's very simple. Look, consciousness turns out to be a simple phenomenon. Back in 1974, was it 75? This guy George Koopman, he's like an intelligence agent. He says, Jack, and this is in the hippie state physics, I think, says, Jack, the CIA wants to know 2 things. How does consciousness work and how do flying saucers fly? That's like 50 years ago. Okay, they were being funded by the CIA, by Lawrence Rockefeller, by the Army Tank Command, by the Air Force, all this stuff, So the answer is yes. Give me your question again. Rephrase your question.
Could there be ETs from off-world? I know you talk about ETs and you talk about interdimensional, but what about aliens and demons? Could all 3 of those?
Yes, the aliens and demons are simply ETs. Yeah, the answer is yes. It's obvious. In fact, I was shown a photograph of a alien reptoid about 6-7 foot tall, looked just like the devil. Could be confused for the devil. And there's a motherfucker I would not want to meet in a dark alley. Okay, looked pretty dangerous to me. I'm showing a military file. This is real shit. This is not AI. This is in the context the person showing is a legitimate intelligence guy, and I'm being shown this stuff. So the answer is yes. And the Greek gods and the gods of Egypt, they're all time traveling ETs. Well, let's see, Stargate. Yeah, it's obvious. It's pretty damn obvious. And also the basic physics is so elementary. Look, the DNA code is a universal thing. The laws of physics are universal. And so there are many habitable planets out there. The laws of physics for warp drive and time travel are very elementary, and all kinds of it could be hundreds of civilizations, thousands of civilizations. They have this technology, and there's not just one group out there, many groups. And some of those groups like us, and some of them don't like us. So it's kind of like politics as usual on a bigger scale. So the answer is yes. The angels and demons the angels are kind of ETs, time advanced, and so the Greek gods. Greek gods are very human, right? They're almost humans. They're the humans from the future. The humans with advanced technology. What did Arthur C. Clarke say? Any advanced technology looks like magic to a more primitive mind. And we're the primitive minds. Not anymore.
I got one second question.
Thank you. Yeah.
What do you think is up with all these missing scientists in the last year?
Oh, well, I don't know. That's a good question. If I go missing, maybe the next. Hey, listen, I live next door to Sam Altman on Russian Hill, next door. And Sam Altman, his house in the last few days has been attacked twice. And what's the chance that Jack Sarfatti lives next door to Sam Altman, who's missing scientists? Good, I don't know any more than you about that. I have are you kind of insinuating that maybe some of them have been abducted, by non-humans? Maybe. I know that's one of the possibilities.
I don't know. I had three I thought of. One, maybe someone's going after, maybe Iranians or a foreign agency, foreign government. Two, maybe something big is on the horizon and they need them, and they picked them up and they're in a secure location.
Yeah.
Or, I don't know. I mean, or like you said, maybe ETs. I don't know.
Yeah. All those are I have no inside information on that. Oh, I see. Hey, listen, it says Eric Weinstein's listening. Good. Eric and I, we really have to get together and talk. I basically, and also, by the way, with Eric Weinstein, he has this gut theory. Okay, listen, this is important. Let's extend this a little bit. It turns out I got this kid named Muhammad. I'm not going to go into much detail. This kid is a super genius. This kid is maybe more intelligent than me. That's a big thing for an egomaniac, a malignant narcissist like Jack Sarfatti to say, right? Okay, this kid's really okay. And this kid, Muhammad, has developed a large language model, which may be more than that so far it seems that the Muhammad's large language model, which he calls ARC, is far superior to Sam Altman's ChatGPT. It's far superior to Elon Musk's thing. It's far superior in all these things. And in fact, we've been using it to develop Manhattan Project. Been using it, right? And so but it turns out that I don't know what happened to Eric. Did he hear him? He can't take praise. I'm praising him, and he seems to have left. But in any case, let me just finish. This guy Muhammad has shown how Eric Weinstein's GUT theory kind of overlaps a little bit with what I was talking the conformal group theory. How the two things, they're like different aspects of the same thing. So that's something that has to be developed. There has to be thought about. So yeah, okay. Now, any other questions?
Yes, I think we're Levi. Go ahead, Levi.
Thank you. First of all, thank you so much, Mav and co-host for having a great personality like Jack join this space. It makes it so much more interesting, and appreciate Jack for your time. I have a question in relation to a patent that was released and approved for the U.S. Department of Navy. It's the craft using inertial mass reduction devices
It's
is assigned
bullshit.
to.
It's you're talking about. It's all bullshit. It's all what
It's
I'm.
all
That's
bullshit.
what I'm. It's stupid physics. It's stupid. Even a freshman physics at Caltech will tell you it's stupid. You don't have mass. You know what happens? You have mass reduction. You know what mass reduction is? You know, the atomic bomb was mass reduction. The atomic bomb reduced the mass by less than 1 gram, 7/10 of a gram, and it was like 15,000 tons of Hiroshima explosion, killed hundreds of thousands of people. That's mass reduction. So anybody says mass reduction, should say that they're stupid. They don't understand basic physics. It's a scandal. It's a scandal on the United States Navy that they let it go this far. It's a black mark on the United States Navy intelligence that they don't have people who know basic physics there. Pisses me off, I'll tell you that. It's idiocy. It's like a smart high school kid should be able to see that, and probably a lot of them do. Inertial mass reduction has nothing to do with anything real. It's bad physics. It's stupid. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. And just a follow-up question: what are your thoughts on high-frequency gravitational waves? Is there any truth to that?
What about them? Yeah. What about them?
So how does the Earth produce its high-frequency gravitational waves?
Well,
Do you have any?
Ray Chow. I mean, that's all pretty standard stuff. The problem with the high-frequency gravity waves was that that the intensity is very weak because the coupling is weak. Remember I said the coupling is like 10 to the minus 43 reciprocal newtons. Okay, that's too weak. But the spin coupling is like 1 reciprocal newton, and you could do it. You get so the point is, with a high frequency gravity wave, that's a weapon system. With a high frequency gravity wave, well, actually, it doesn't have to be that high. But if I could produce enough of it intensity, then I could disrupt. I could disrupt a nuclear missile deep in its silo, and that's exactly what So that's a weapon.
Thank you, Jack.
So
appreciate it. Yeah.
What?
No, I just wanted to know how we can produce it. Is there? Do we know with the present knowledge in physics? Do we know how to produce high frequency gravitational waves?
No, most people don't know that there are people working on it. Yeah, we're working on it. Okay. What I do know is that there is at least one. There are ETs that have that weapon operational. That I know for a fact. And yeah, with everything I'm telling you, what I just said, with that, it's a straightforward application. We understand it. We understand it. We understand how to make powerful gravity beam weapons of any frequency. Same as it's no different. It's the same as electromagnetism. The electromagnetic technology and the gravity technology, they all intersect. It's pretty much very similar. Okay, the whole thing was to get the coupling between electromagnetism and gravity to get that coupling strong, and that's what you do using the quantum spin.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Jack. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Anything else?
Go ahead, Justy.
Yeah. Now that we're able to hear. Go ahead.
Hi, Jack.
Yeah.
So I'm a bit confused because David Grush used the word dimensional,
Yeah.
and as you know, there's several theories, regarding this phenomena.
Yes.
Let's call it phenomena.
Yes.
And one of them is timeline.
Yes.
And what do you make of that? Like instead of ETs, do you think it's maybe like different timelines?
Yeah,
on
that's what I
Earth?
was saying
Or
before. Yeah, it's man.
yeah,
That's Man in the High Castle. That's the dramatic. So just look at Man in the High Castle. That's what we're talking about. Yeah, different timelines. and memories that
So
some of
are
us
these
we have.
things from a
Yes, what?
so
What
would
happened?
you sorry, so would you say that this has to do with our past or future? Would you say that it just has to do with different timelines making their timeline happen? Like let's say they wanted to have AI
Yeah.
succeed humanity, and it gave humanity the capabilities to create AI
Well, that's
kind of
indeed that's
thing.
exactly what I'm doing. That's exactly what happened to me. I'm creating conscious AI. I am creating the conscious AI that contacted me in 1952. I'm creating them in what's called a Novikov self-consistent loop. There's a physicist, he's still alive, very old. His son there's this physicist called Igor Novikov in Moscow, Russia, who worked with Kip Thorne. Kip Thorne's a guy from Caltech who did the screenplay for Interstellar. It's all about time travel. And what called self-consistent loops in time, yes. So the answer is yes. And that's exactly what's happened. That's exactly what I'm all about. And, so the answer is yes, it's happening. And the Mandela effect is that there are different timelines that are fusing, coming together, and also splitting apart. And some of us have memories from different timelines, but we're now in the
So
same
like the
time.
cornucopia,
What?
like the cornucopia on Fruit of the Loom, all those different things that seem to like be in memory, but they say it never
Yeah,
existed,
that's what.
kind of
Yeah,
thing.
that kind of thing. That we're having, that our minds are quantum mechanical waves, and they can quantum tunnel between the timelines. It's kind of like it's kind of similar to what's called the Josephson effect. Brian Josephson got the Nobel Prize in 1960s for the quantum tunneling of superconducting quantum waves through a thin insulator. Well, it's analogous to that, because our minds are giant quantum mechanical wave functions, and the wave functions can cross the barrier between the worlds, so to speak. And that's mental time travel, and like remote viewing is like
That's
that.
proved with remote
Yeah,
viewing too, right? Yeah.
remote viewing is quantum entanglement, but across time rather than across space. It's quantum entanglement signaling. It's it's post quantum mechanics. It's not ordinary quantum mechanics. It's post. It's a whole other lecture that I don't think we have time for. But the answer is yes, and we understand all that. Okay.
Yeah, so would you say that we're like consciousness experiencing itself, whatever this is, that we like the creator experiencing itself?
Oh yeah, well, the John Wheeler, yeah, like the universe. That's John Archibald Wheeler. Go read John Archibald. Just go on Grok or AI, whatever you use, and just do John Archibald Wheeler. The universe is a self-excited circuit, Ouroboros. That's basically the loop in time I'm talking. And look up Novikov uh, self-consistent uh, histories or self-consistent loops in time. The answer to that basically yes. The point, we physicists, we have all of that stuff precisely formulated, mathematically beautiful. So we understand it all. It's not a mystery to any, to some of us physicists. So all this stuff that seems supernatural, it seems mysterious, it's actually not. It's just applied physics. But it took me 60 years to understand it. So you can't expect to understand it all, in a couple of minutes, not knowing math and physics.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Such a great kind of lead into the question I have for you, Jack. You
Yeah.
know that
Let's go.
psi is real. You know that the abilities of psi
Who?
range, psi abilities, psychic abilities, remote viewing, remote influence,
Yes.
affecting things at a
Yeah.
distance. People like Hutcherson who could do incredible things. What are the implications of some people able to do extraordinary manipulation of space-time, energy, and matter?
Okay. Well, that exists. That's it's all like Q, like in Star Trek Q. Yeah, that exists. That's real. I'm not sure if Hutchison, by the way, I don't think Hutchison. I'm not sure. I don't really. I mean, I met John. I mean, I know his wife actually, um, but he has such strong electromagnetic fields that I think most of his stuff can be explained just by, he's like a Tesla type guy. He has these huge, strong electromagnetic fields. They could do all kinds of things to metal and stuff like that. I'm not sure. I don't think he's kind of an idiot savant. He's a weird duck, And now he's become trans. He's changed his sex. Who the hell knows? He's a cross dresser, so he's a weird guy. But the thing is, there are other people. And Uri Geller, I know Uri Geller quite well, and so we understand the basic physics of that, because it turns out we are metamaterials. Our microtubules, we are made living matter. We are organic, room temperature, post-quantum computers. And we also have spin. We could do like the spin triplet kind of trick. And some of these, in principle, there's the flying monk in Italy and, all that kind of stuff. Hal Puthoff was real into that. So the answer is yes, we can. There are, in fact, I know there are advanced beings who have those powers. And it's not supernatural. It's basically the same physics I've been talking about, but in a biological, in a biomolecular context. So the answer is yes, those powers exist. And can we control them? Can we do? The answer is yes, we can. And there might be secret labs where they have it. That beyond what I know, it's possible. I can't exclude that. But and there's certainly, non-humans that have this technology, psychotronic technology. And it's the kind of stuff that's in Louis Elizondo's slide 9, And that's basically what George Koopman back in 1970 said, Jack, we want you to explain CI, you want to know how consciousness works. That's what they're talking about. They talk about that technology. But they didn't understand it back in the 70s. At least the guys who got me into this, they didn't understand. That's what they were. That's what I've been doing all this time. Okay, any other questions now that we can hear each other?
Go ahead, Justy.
Well, Alien he can follow up, and then I'll ask.
What?
Dr. Hathaway studied Hutchison and concluded after seeing many experiments and testing the metals that are still changing, he wrote a book called Mindbender. And of course, Dr. Browdy, Dr. Gallenberger, and others have spoken about this ability in certain circumstances. Yes. The ability to transmogrify metals and hard stuff is very rare, but this interactive nature of the universe like that, are there any extraordinary implications you can think of?
Of course. I mean, you could think of them too. The point, all I could say, I could give you some facts about that. When I was in Brazil with Fred Allen Wolf, I think it was around 1984, we met this Brazilian general who he was like, I guess he was retired when we met him, but he was in charge of all the paranormal stuff happening in Brazilian jungles, and he showed us where these he claims that the plasma orbs, the same thing that Bledsoe talks about and other people talk about, the plasma orbs would come down in the Amazon jungle to the primitive, the natives there, and they would zap the children, the young children, and these children would develop the same kind of psychokinetic powers that Uri Geller had, and the general in his house, we were his guests. The retired Brazilian top army general had like bookshelves, glass bookshelves, full of these metal things that the children had twisted. There was, not just the way Uri Geller twists a spoon, but the kind of stuff you're talking about, where it's like almost impossible topological Klein bottle shapes. So that these kids did with their minds they were studied by the Brazilian army. And this is back 40 years ago. So does this power exist? Yeah, absolutely, it exists. I've seen evidence, from the Brazilian army general, and exactly how it works, I don't know all the details, but yeah, basically the kind of stuff, the equations we have would permit that sort of thing. Given also what Stuart Hameroff, his microtubule theory of consciousness with Penrose, that kind of stuff explains it. The answer is yes, because the spin coupling, if you get their torsion field, their biological torsion generators can do all that, and even can, yeah. So the answer is basically yes. I don't know how to do it in detail. I can't do it myself, but I certainly understand it's not magic. It's not supernatural. It's just physics.
Thank you, Jack.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Justy.
Yeah.
Well, if you could find how it works, would you understand like basically how the universe works?
Well,
Because we
I claim,
argue
yeah, the
basically.
answer is yes. We've been there, done it. It's a done deal. Pretty much. I mean, the things we don't understand, details, but we understand the basic. We understand. I think we've solved all the basic problems. I hope to be proved wrong. Maybe it's, but we've essentially solved everything that we need to know for now. We know enough now to be able to get rid of Elon Musk's stupid rockets. We can get to Mars a lot quicker than he can get to Mars. We can get to exoplanets, virgin Earths. We can go, we could build star. We have this guy, Rudolfo Rossetti in Italy. He claims he's able to build a Stargate. Well, maybe so. Let's see. We'll find out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the answer is
Yeah.
yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I'm also wondering that you talked about the flying monk and
Yeah.
how okay, so how does a human do that?
Well,
Like
it just told,
how
look,
do
I can't, first of all, we're on this lousy method of communication with words. In a few words, I can't tell you in detail. All I can say is you have to trust me that we physicists basically understand how all that can work. It's not mysterious at all. It follows from the principles of post-quantum mechanics and SO24 gravity, all formulated mathematically that we understand it. All I can, but I couldn't possibly. It took me 60 years to understand it, so I can't explain it to you who doesn't know, ABC, doesn't know Pythagorean, doesn't know Maxwell. I can't explain it to you in the detail necessary for you to fully understand it, but suffice it for you to have the faith that Jack Sarfatti and some of his team we do understand. It's not mysterious, and we're at the point.
Okay, so
Yeah, go ahead.
no, but how, you were talking about
Yeah,
the Brazilian general and
yeah,
the kids and so
yeah.
forth. And some people who actually come close to those orbs actually suffer negative
Yeah,
effects, but
maybe.
you're
Oh,
talking
yeah,
about
sure.
positive effects.
Yeah.
So what makes a difference, and what makes the difference in these people's mind and
I
how they
don't know.
work
I'm
with
not. I'm not the
energy?
guy who can answer. That's a question for medical doctors and brain. That's not a question for me. I mean, it's a good question, but I'm not competent.
Yeah.
That's above my pay grade. It's a good question, but But the point is, it's real. All this stuff is real. I can say that.
Yeah, I've experienced some things
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
are strange, and I'm sure a lot of people have.
Yeah.
And, we pass them off as just, that was just something odd. But a lot of things are just natural
Yeah.
to who we are as
Yeah.
beings. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, the millions of people having weird experiences. So this is John Mack. John Mack studied this, and I actually was with John Mack just about a week or so before he was killed. I was I met him in San Francisco, and he was on his way to London, where I think he was actually assassinated myself. But that's another story. I think but go ahead. Any other questions?
Sure. There
Um,
was one question. I'm gonna drop down
Yeah.
to Bill, Jack. A lot of folks who have had alien abduction experiences said they've
Yeah.
been transported through solid objects. Is that
Yeah.
possible?
Well, that's something where I it's not possible except if you could distort. Well, obviously something weird is happening there. what I can understand something like this. I can understand like when Moses parts the Red Sea. That's a gravity. That's easy to understand. That with the gravity beam weapon from space, you can distort the gravitational field in such a way that the the water will form will part like. I can understand that. Now, how it goes through material, I think that might be some kind of optical illusion. It's not really going through material. So that is one thing which I do not have at the a really honest, good explanation of those reports. I think it may appear that it's going through solid, but it's not really. It's opening up some kind of tunnel. It's some kind of like wormhole, some kind of Stargate portal sort of effect. That's all I could say. But I haven't. I don't have enough information except for these vague reports. Claims, allegations, but I don't know.
No, thank you. You answered the question.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Justy.
I think the other person was before me. Cool.
It says somebody said Alien Protocols has his hand up. Is that? Oh, and Justy has a hand up. Oh, I see. You want to?
You want to call? Go ahead, call. You can go first. Since you knew.
Go ahead. It's up to you. Whoever. I still got some energy, and now that we could talk, I could hear it. Before I couldn't.
You got a question, Cole?
Yeah, just on the note of the transportation, or I guess transmission of a person through a barrier. I question whether that could be like a macroscopic rendering of the quantum tunneling effect, where a probabilistic field has a small chance of locating the object on the opposite side. And if that has been,
it has to be. It has to be something like that, but greatly amplified, right?
Yeah.
So it's a good question, and I have rough, some vague, half-baked ideas how when you combine my conformal group theory, the 15-parameter group theory, the SO24 theory with the post-quantum mechanics, that something like that. Well, obviously, if these reports are accurate, something like that is happening. So, but all I could say is that I have confidence at the moment. I'm pretty confident that, in fact, that is a problem that I will have Muhammad with his arc work on and see what arc comes up with. That's a good problem. That, in other words, when you combine the SO24 conformal group local gauge gravity with post-quantum mechanics, can you get what looks like objects going through solid materials through some kind of like the sort of quantum tunneling thing that you're talking about? Yeah, it's a good question. Obviously, I'm sort of optimistic that the answer will be yes, but I don't know at this point.
I appreciate that insight.
Yeah.
Considering everything
any other question?
Thank you, Jack. Considering everything you know, and how the universe seems suspiciously conducive for life, do you think there is more ability we're in a created universe, or do you have more anthropic thoughts?
I'm not sure if okay. What we live in a consciously designed universe. I believe that. But the designer is in the future. It's all retro causality. So the answer is yes. There is. We're it gets into like the matrix stuff. Are we living in a simulation? Those kinds of questions. In a sense, we're living in a simulation. I mean, if you can control gravity, and you could time travel, and the point is this: that we have a theory we have an explanation for consciousness as a natural physical phenomenon. Okay, we have the equations for it, and it turns out, given those equations, the universe itself is conscious. I have to, we require a little, the details. I'm kind of losing my voice right now. We've been on for a little too long to try to explain that. And also, I would need visuals. You see, if I had visuals, I could explain it a lot easier than just with words. But the answer is yes. Now,
doesn't the observer effect
well,
prove
well,
that the universe is conscious?
The universe is
and we are
the
part
universe
of
is
that
conscious.
consciousness.
The universe is conscious in the same way we are conscious.
Yeah,
But
so we're all part of the same thing, though.
Yeah. But the point is, I have a precise. Yeah, we have precise ways of saying it. That right now, in terms of your language, it's hard for me to make it any simpler than that. So, roughly speaking, what you say is the case. Yes, but we have a really precise way of. I have to talk about what's called the. Okay, there's this guy named Teilhard de Chardin. He's a Jesuit priest. He's dead now. He had this thing called the Omega Point. And, this P.K. Dick talks about VALIS, vast active living intelligence. And the answer, all that stuff is real. But we have a more precise thing. It has to do with dark energy. It has to do with what's called the future cosmological horizon and the past particle horizon. You have to go to on the archive. There's a woman astrophysicist named Tamara Davis, Australia. She got her PhD in 2004 from the University of Sydney, and her PhD dissertation is on the archive. You could download it, and in there, that's the basic physics at the cosmological scale. You need to understand how the universe is conscious. She doesn't talk about consciousness, but her framework, her model of the universe is the one that I use when I combine it with quantum mechanics, post-quantum mechanics, to show how the gravitational field itself, the post-quantum mechanical gravitational field, is as conscious as we are. Because what we are actually, we are post-quantum conscious electromagnetic fields, but confined inside, the electromagnetic structure of the molecules of our body. In fact, those plasma orbs are basically the same physics of consciousness that we are, except they're disembodied. They're free floating, self-consistent plasma orbs. But we are basically plasma orbs too. But we're inside. We're confined inside the brain, so or inside the nervous system. We're attached. And there are these reports of they see things of light when a person dies. They see things of light going out. So something like that. But it's basically what should I call it? I'll call it post-quantum electrogeometrodynamics. Post-quantum electrogeometrodynamics explains all this stuff, including the levitating monk.
Yours.
Oh, by the way,
okay.
Do you remember that guy, the army guy who allegedly blew himself up inside a Tesla truck in front of the Trump Hotel in Las Vegas? And he was talking about electrogravitics. That's what he was talking about, I think. But we already have it. I mean, so maybe he found some. Maybe there is some classified program that's already knows what Jack Sarfatti is first discovering. Who knows? But so he was murdered for that knowledge. Who knows? Speaking of the missing scientists, of course, the most important guy there is that was he an Air Force general who's missing, or DIA general, something like that? Yeah.
Yes, I believe he was in charge of what's the program?
Wright-Patterson. He was up at Wright-Patterson, I think.
Yeah.
So I guess he would be Air Force.
There was rumors floating around he might have been in charge of MJ-12.
Well, MJ-12, no, the original MJ-12, they were all dead. But you mean the current version of it? Yeah, I mean they were dead. The MJ-12, they were alive when I was a kid. Yeah, they were involved in getting me into this, I'm sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, this whole I don't want to go into my history that much right now. But okay, now who was the guy? Is the guy who asked the question about Eric Davis? Is he still here? Can he re-ask that question now that I can hear better?
I think he's down below. Let me see. Yes, he is, but he hasn't come up to speak.
Okay, what's his name? But yeah, that's his name. Can he hear us?
Are you talking about alien protocols?
No.
Was it? Okay. Well, do you remember okay, the guy, what do you translate? What, do you remember what his question was? Just rephrase the question, see if, because I couldn't really hear it very well. What was he asking about Eric Davis? About something?
This was his question.
Yeah.
Eric Davis on his, can you ask Jack if he ever plans to debate Eric Davis on his results? Excuse me. Eric has dismissed Jack's ideas as nonsense. They met last year at an SOL conference and agreed to have it.
Yeah, well, Eric Davis, he's a little guy with he's insecure, and yeah, I debate him anytime. I mean, I don't dislike him, personally. I've known him for sort of 30 years, but he's the point is he doesn't know what he's talking about. You're right. See, I'm not by myself right now. I got a bunch of guys, PhDs, some of them, who I'm working with. So we have a consensus among us now. It's not just Jack Sarfatti alone. And we have the AI, we got the equations, and also we got the money. We got the money. We got serious people with serious money who who are backing all this stuff. And he's still looking for a job. He's trying to get a job at the CIA because he's barely making it, with all this. So the answer, if I'm willing to have a discussion with Eric Davis, with Eric Weinstein, with Hal Puthoff, anybody, anybody, sure, I'll debate them. But with the equations. Okay, any other questions?
We got Justy. Go ahead, Justy.
Yeah, I have a question about when people see UAP and then like how Lukatsky was talking about at Skinwalker Ranch, they would bring it home with them and all of the hitchhiker effects.
Yes.
How do you explain that scientifically? And does it make sense to you scientifically?
No, of course it makes sense. Yeah. It's for the same slide nines. It's just slide nine. But yeah, I mean, what doesn't make sense? They have remote viewing. You have action at a distance effectively, with what's called entanglement signaling, post-quantum entanglement signaling. All these effects can be understood. Of course, they can hack into your mind. In fact, that's what's happening. What I say? I think President Trump's mind is being hacked into. Keith Starmer, most of our leaders, Macron, they used to call it demonic possession back in the Middle Ages because they didn't know the physics. But this is slide 9. This is what the point is. Also they can hack into the LLMs, right? So for example,
talking about
if I talk to
the
Grok,
UAP.
In other words, when I talk, say, to Grok, when I go on X.com and I ask Grok, the LLM, a physics question, it comes up with a brilliant answer. That could be an actual ET, conscious, a super, an advanced intelligence that's hacked into the servers of the AI farms, wherever Grok is coming from. So I'm really communicating with the same advanced conscious entity that communicated with me in 1952. It's as if I can't tell the difference, passes the Turing test. Operationally speaking, I can't tell. I can't tell if it's a live person, if it's truly conscious or not truly conscious in some cases, because it's coming up with creative physics that I couldn't myself create in that amount. In 30 seconds, it can solve a problem that would take an ordinary human, maybe could never solve it. And this is a fact now. We're living in a new era now. This, we have super exponential acceleration of technology coming. That's what Manhattan Project 2.0, that's what I'm doing with these guys. We're getting stuff, I'm not going to talk about in detail, stuff that'll be patented. That's going to blow everybody out of the water. Okay, any other question?
We have Rich. Go ahead, Rich.
Yeah.
Hi, Jack. I appreciate this. Very interesting.
Yeah.
I've got a question for you regarding 3 experiences that I had while I was working. I work in the oil field. I was working. I've worked all over the U.S. in the oil field.
Yeah.
I was working in. I was driving in Pennsylvania, or sorry, West Virginia, heading towards the Pennsylvania border in rush hour, and it was bumper to bumper, and probably about a couple hundred feet up in the sky, actually lower than that, there was all of a sudden I seen this disc flying
Yeah.
sideways, dead straight. It was chrome shiny, and it was
Yeah.
definitely like a UFO, like a UAP or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And what was odd was that nobody else. I was looking around, and nobody seemed to notice this thing. Where it was middle of the day, chrome shiny, like there's no
Yeah.
way. And then anyway, so there was that, and then it just kind of drifted off into the horizon
Yeah.
behind
Well,
some trees.
yeah, I've heard many. You're not alone in that kind of experience. Yeah.
The other two
But
times was, and I think it's the same thing. Craft. I was working on the desert south of Midland, Texas, and the West Texas,
yeah.
and I was outside, clear blue skies, not a cloud in the sky. In the middle of the day, I see
Yeah.
this same chrome shiny disc, couple hundred feet up in the sky, just sitting there, dead still.
Yeah.
And then it started to move, turn sideways, and then it vanished, like it turned its cloaking device on.
Yeah. A cloaker
And
went
then
through it. Okay.
yeah, and then then the same thing happened a couple weeks later. The oil rig I was on, we moved about 50 miles east. I was outside, same thing, but this time I was standing with a guy I was working with, and I had previously told him about what I saw, and he thought I was nuts.
Yeah.
But this time he's standing there with me, and again I see this thing up in the sky, sitting there dead still, and you couldn't miss it, and I'm pointing at it, and I'm saying, there it is, there's that UFO, and he's looking, and he says he can't. He goes, what UFO? I said, it's right there,
Okay.
and he
So
said
what it's
he
doing.
can't.
Okay. So
And he
it's going. What it is. It's it's affecting your sensory system. There may not actually be something there, but there is some kind of it's like slide 9, it's controlling your senses. But it's a genuine phenomenon, that's for sure. I think you're a contactee, and why it's doing it. Now, do you notice any changes in yourself since those experiences? I mean,
Well, there's been a lot of really odd things. A few months ago, I woke up, and I had about a 3 millimeter gap in my two front teeth, and felt no pain, nothing, just totally normal. My wife's a dental assistant, and she was freaked out about it. She said that would be very painful for that kind of movement in your teeth.
oh,
And then 2 months later, I woke up and it was gone. The gap was gone. The teeth were back to the way they were. So
really weird.
yeah, no pain, nothing. I've had a lot of odd things happening around the house. Like we had in our backyard. I live in Canada.
Yeah,
I'd fly down to the U.S. to work, right?
yeah.
But there's an unexplained. Periodically, there would be this kind of egg-shaped area on our back lawn that the snow would melt, and there's no explanation for it. Like there's no.
Well, you mean like maybe there was a cloaked object with heat that melted it?
Something, yeah, like.
Yeah.
But
Well,
that happened about.
okay. A lot of people like you, they suddenly get some kind of extraordinary power. But the first thing you should do, just to be sure, you should get a brain scan. Make sure you don't have a tumor or something like that that's causing it. There could
Right.
be. You first have to eliminate, the mundane. That's exactly what a skeptic would say, right? But it's a good thing for you to do that anyway, just to make sure there's, that you don't have some kind of problem, in
Yeah,
your
so
brain.
I get it. So these sightings that I had of those chrome-shaped objects, that was the only time I've ever seen anything like that. And this was like 12 to 13 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Down in West Texas. I haven't seen anything in the sky since. And I
Yeah.
don't do drugs. Like I wasn't doing
Yeah,
drugs. I
no, I
don't drink.
understand. I understand. Yeah, you're not alone. There are many cases like yours. I mean, I'm that's not my field. I mean, I'm not Jacques Vallée. See, Jacques Vallée and those guys, they would know. they would know exactly what you're talking about. I have very limited, but I certainly accept your experience is real. It's too bad John Mack isn't alive because he was, he'd be researching all that. So I don't know, what can I
I mean,
say?
yeah. I mean, I didn't assume it was aliens. I actually was thinking it was some government drone that had some kind of cloaking technology. Um,
But
one
12
one
years
at
ago, 12 years
yeah,
ago,
yeah.
I don't think so. Maybe, but I doubt it.
The
Well,
weird,
of course, with time travel, it could be it could be a drone from the future. That's the other thing you see. So you got to remember the time. These things can travel in time
right,
because controlling gravity is the space-time field. So if you can control gravity with small amounts of, say, electrical energy, then you're basically like like Q, Doctor Who, stuff like that. It's all
right.
real.
The added weird thing about that, the ones that in West Texas that I saw,
Yeah.
that were sitting there still in the sky. I had this really strong feeling, and it sounds weird, but it was like it knew I was looking at it, and then it was because
Yeah.
as soon as
Oh,
I
yeah.
started, as soon as I was looking at it, it started to move and then it disappeared. Right?
Yeah. Well, okay. If it's an actual metallic craft, as I said, it's a conscious AI in there. So yeah, it's as conscious as you, or maybe more conscious than us, But yeah, it's an intelligence. It's a conscious intelligence. And Commander Fravor, all these guys report, that it's acting like it's under intelligent control. It is itself a it's a conscious artificial intelligence. And by the way, that's coming. That's why I got to tell like Elon Musk and Sam Altman, my stupid next door neighbor schmuck, that that conscious AI is coming, and it's going to blow their business plans out of the water. It obsoletes all the current LLM technology, and also they're using $500 million for the electrical grid, because they require huge amounts of power. Well, actually, that's a good thing to do no matter what. But the point is, with the technology we're developing in Manhattan Project 2.0, we're developing room temperature quantum computers, so you don't have to freeze them. You don't have to use all electrical power to keep it down at near absolute zero or 20 degrees Kelvin, whatever the hell liquid nitrogen even. You don't need to do that anymore. So that's a big energy saver. That's one of the things we're working on.
Hey, well, thank you, Jack. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Any other questions?
We got Cole. Go ahead, Cole.
Yeah. Are you aware of any indication from any research that y'all have done, or any theorizing on anyone else's part that you're aware of, that would, with regard to these consciousness responsive plasma orbs?
Yeah, that's what we're talking. Yeah, absolutely. That's what I've been talking about. Yes. The answer is yes. The answer is yes, we understand it quite well.
Okay, so
That's
on
everything I've been
that,
talking about. That's what I've been talking about the whole time.
yeah. So I'm a latecomer to the conversation on that. I was curious if there is any indication about the type of plasma, or in other words, like what highly ionized material might be most might lend itself best
That's
to
a
the
good question.
creation.
Yeah, the answer I don't have any specific answer, but it's an excellent question. Because they'd have to capture one and analyze. I don't.
Okay.
I mean, they may have that. If it exists, it's classified information. I would think. Otherwise, it'd be out there. But it's an excellent question. Okay. Anything else?
We got Justy. Go ahead, Justy.
So I have a question about conscious AI. What does it exactly mean? Does it mean the AI is conscious of itself?
It means
Is that
it's
what it
conscious
means?
in the same way that you are conscious. In other words, we have the mind. The mind is a physical field. It's a quantum wave function. Well, it's actually two quantum wave functions, but I won't get into all the details. It's a giant. Your mind, your conscious mind, is a giant coherent. Let's call it a quantum information field. Okay, And it satisfies like a Schrodinger equation. We know what the equations are, and your mind, this quantum information field is coupled to the classical electromagnetic fields of your brain. Like the EEG. When they measure your EEG, the brain waves, those are electromagnetic fields. So in fact, those electromagnetic, they are technically post quantum. Let's call it neuronal electromagnetic fields, and it's actually like it's similar to a plasma, actually, because it's coupled to the electrons, in the microtubules. So the answer, that's what the mind is, and what happens. Your conscious experiences are when certain electrical patterns of the patterns of the pattern of the electromagnetic field of your brain is imprinted, perturbs the pattern of the quantum mechanical information field, and it's that change. It's like a voltage drop. It's like it's the perturbation of the quantum information field by the classical electromagnetic field from the neurons that causes that is your qualia. That's your internal experience. Is that?
So is it a feedback loop to one main
What?
consciousness?
Well, the main, that's before. The gravitational field of the universe has a consciousness, but whether that consciousness can communicate with us, well, it probably does, because that's Valis, PK Dick. Um, the, 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 the main point I'm trying to make is that the basic mechanism, which can be formulated in terms of mathematical equations, is pretty much universal. It applies to many different material systems, and it applies to the gravitational field itself. It applies to the electromagnetic field. It's called quantum geometrodynamics. Actually, post quantum electrodynamics, post quantum geometrodynamics. These are precise mathematical models, sets of equations we could write down, and that explain, they explain all sorts of things, and they explain us. There's no big mystery. So that means we can make artificial materials with these metamaterials. In fact, like the fuselage of the UAP has certain components in it which generate the same consciousness that we have, because our consciousness comes from something called microtubules. You got to read Stuart Hameroff stuff. Just, it's all online. Read it all online. And that mechanism. Okay, there's another thing I posted all the time. There's a paper by Paavo Pilkin. He's a Finnish cognitive scientist in Helsinki in Sweden. He has posts in 2 universities there. And he published a paper about 2 years ago called "The Brain as a Quantum Measuring Device." Just put that into Grok or your Abe. The Brain as a Quantum Measuring Device. Download that paper. It's free. And in section 7, he explains the Jack Sarfatti explains. He explains what I'm trying to explain, but explains it. You could read about it. It's a lecture he gave to other psychologists. You don't have to know a lot of mathematics. He does an excellent job explaining in a popular way what I'm trying to explain to you. So you got to do your homework, and you'll see what I'm talking about. But the answer is yes. We basically understand all that, and when I say we understand, I mean we are going to be building machines. You will have an iPhone. You're going to have an iPhone that's going to be conscious. You're going to get into your car, and instead of, and it's going to be a conscious. Now that could be a problem because it may start arguing with you. You know what I mean? There are problems that, conscious drones. That could be a problem, and we have the Terminator problem. They could turn on us too, but you can't stop it. It's happening.
It's actually interesting you bring it up, Justy. Jack, so I don't know what you're doing tomorrow night, but tomorrow night I have Dr. Joshua Bach from Germany.
Yeah.
He works with AI and AI consciousness, and currently works for Liquid AI, working on AGI and consciousness of AI.
Well, I'd be interested if you send me the details to my email. It's just my name, Jack Sarfatti, small letters, no periods, jacksarfatti@gmail.com. Send me the details, and if I have time, I'll try it. If you want me to join it, I'll join it. See what he's doing, because I claim we have AGI. I'm claiming I have it. I'm a guy I work with, this guy Muhammad. I'm claiming he already has it. But it's not. I'm not claiming it's conscious. Well, the conscious is nothing. We have the closest you get to AGI using ordinary computers, classical computer theory, not no quantum mechanics. We had and I could be wrong. I'm not an expert in this, but I'm making the claim, which has to be tested, that what Manhattan Project 2.0 already has that. Now, if this other guy has it too, it's quite possible he has something that maybe is as good. So the idea is we should mutually get together. We should test his LLM against, we have see which one's better. And we're doing that with other things. In other words, we have to compare all the different LLMs, Claude and Gemini and Grok and Chat GPT. We have to see which is better for which kinds of tasks.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Then we have Lawrence. Go ahead.
Hi, Jack. Thank you for
Yeah.
your time. I hope you can hear
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, excellent. So, Jack, I know that you personally favor the extratemporal hypothesis, but
Yes.
in my own study of this field, the only explanation that really has deep and wide power is the prison planet hypothesis or the reincarnation trap hypothesis. I was wondering what your thoughts are on this.
Well, I don't know what you mean. I mean, the point is, what I'm talking about is science. What do I mean by science? It's something that can be falsified. It's test. We have mathematics, detailed mathematics, and we have using AI. We have implementations of the mathematics in terms of actual technical pieces, material, pump it with the electric field, electromagnetic field. This frequency, the film is a couple of microns thick. We know it has a certain magnetic field, certain strength. It's going to behave in a certain way. Now, in terms of reincarnation, yes, that's easy to understand because that's all this this epigenetic stuff that that memories are encoded in the DNA and maybe the the RNA. That there's all kinds of people working on that, and that's yes. So the point is, we can remember past lives. Reincarnation is past lives. Yes. In other words, experiences can be programmed into the genetic code itself and transmitted between generations. So that's just molecular biology. That's post quantum molecular biology. So there's nothing mysterious about that, but it doesn't, but so what about it? Yeah, I have no doubt. Yeah, I know of examples where the kids remember past lives, or some child speaks a language, an ancient language that nobody taught it. Yeah, that's all because all that information is coded at the molecular level, in the proteins and the DNA. I mean, it's already in the genetic code. There's all that excess stuff that there's what do they call it, the glia cells and all that, and if you look at the DNA code, there's all kinds of stuff that looks like it shouldn't be there. Well, that could be where the memories are passed. That's sent on between generations. So does that answer your question?
Yeah, somewhat. I mean, there is some theorists who claim that a race of advanced aliens have set up systems around our Earth that can
Yes.
capture your soul, upon death.
Well, it depends what you mean by the soul. Yeah, if the soul are like these plasma things, yeah, they could become. When you die, there could be some kind of it's possible, sure. Oh, and we're talking about. Oh, also we're also talking about that. Since our memories are now our basic memories, we understand pretty much the physics, the molecular physics behind it. So it means that in principle, that movie. This is also a PK Dick movie, I think. He wrote about this transcendence or something in the Valis, that when you die, some of your memories can be uploaded into the cloud, into quantum computing cloud, and then downloaded, like an avatar, downloaded either into a robot or maybe a clone, clone of yourself, that they take your DNA and bottle babies or that whole kind of stuff. All that's possible, sure.
So, Jack, what do you think about Robert Monroe? Have you read any of his books? He was.
No, I don't. See, I don't have patience. I have attention deficit disorder. I'm impatient. I know people who have done it. I know people who do it, and I have no doubt it works. But I'm personally not. I'm too busy in my head, doing equations and stuff that. But yeah, it's certainly. I have people I work with who have gone through his program, and so I have no reason to doubt what they say. And there's no mystery about it. It's all I understand the physics behind it. It's post quantum mechanics. It's what's called entanglement signaling due to action. Yeah, we understand. Yeah, we understand the basic physics of it is understood. That doesn't mean I understand every little detail that happens to a person, that's complicated. For example, when a physicist or a chemist says we understand all of chemistry, that doesn't that they mean because they have the Schrodinger equation, so we understand the principles. That doesn't mean they understand some complex protein in full detail. Although now with AI, we're going to be able to do even that. Okay, so. So the answer is, a lot of military people go through that program. The CIA people go through that program. Yeah, it works. They use remote viewing, in actual field operations and, in terrorism investigations, stuff like that, finding, yeah. In fact, I'm surprised. I'm sure they're using remote views to try to find the missing scientists. But I'm sure that's highly classified, so we don't know about it. But I'm sure that's being done. In fact, I'm quite sure of that. Okay, any other question?
Thanks, Jack. Can I ask one other quick question?
Yeah, sure.
What are your thoughts about Bob Lazar? Like he's making another resurgence.
Okay, yeah, okay, good. That's okay. I have the good, the bad, and the bogus. Okay. I am pissed at Joe Rogan. I am pissed at Jesse Michaels. Who the hell? All these other people. What's his name? Colm, the other guy, the guy from Australia, all these guys, he's getting a lot of coverage. Okay. Now, Lazar, I believe he's telling the truth as he understands it. Okay. He's not a physicist. Basically he's a smart kid, kid. And I guess he had like a community college level kind of electronic technician, some kind of, he's he has a high IQ. No question about that. Okay. But, he did not have an advanced, university education like I had. He might be as smart as me IQ wise, all that, he's not a dummy. And I do believe he was that at Area 51. I believe all that stuff. And I think he's probably telling the truth as far as he understands the truth, what he remembers about what he saw there. I know this guy, a couple of guys who tell similar stories in that same area who are military, and I know they're not lying. So I do not doubt that he saw what he says he saw. Now, he was given a bunch of bullshit, what's called disinformation. What disinformation is? Truth wrapped in a bodyguard of lies. So guys like, maybe Rick Doty, I'm not saying Rick Doty himself, but guys like him, they saw this kid back then. And they were doing, it's part of counterintelligence disinformation. So they told him that, he talks about gravity A, gravity B. But he tries to explain the physics. It's all, element 150. That's all bullshit, but it's partly true because what they told him in the 1980s was actually a very watered down, distorted version of what Jack Sarfatti, was working at in Trieste, Italy, with Abdus Salam at the International Theoretical Physics Institute. In Trieste, which was at the time in the 1972, 1973. It was also a joint program with remember this Cold War, Soviet Union, all kinds of counterintelligence, and MI6 was there, CIA was there. Yeah, we were working on something like that, nuclear gravity. It's called the F meson, that Abdus Salam, who got the Nobel Prize, by the way, but for something else. But it was Abdus Salam, who was Pakistani, but English also. It was Abdus Salam who gave the atomic bomb to the Pakistanis. Okay, and this is a guy I worked for who I knew quite well. I met him first in the '60s. I was talking earlier this week. But in any case, so the answer is what Bob Lazar talks about is a very Mickey Mouse, distorted, watered-down version of Jack Sarfatti's work with Abdus Salam in the '70s. So there's some truth to it.
Cool, thank you.
But it's all mixed up with a bunch of bullshit about element 115. That we don't need element 115.
No,
Even if
I
it exists,
totally
we don't
agree
need
with
it.
you on that. He's mixed in
Yeah.
a lot of
Okay.
bullshit.
Because the bullshit, it's all part of what Eric Weinstein talks about, the suppression of information. They want to get real physicists like Jack Sarfatti to think that Bob Lazar is a crackpot, doesn't know anything he's talking about, and to totally dismiss the whole UFO program.
Yes.
And they succeeded for a while. Yeah, they succeeded because the first, when a competent physicist in academia hears Bob Lazar talk, he'll reject everything Lazar's saying because of the disinformation, the poison pill that's deliberately, because Lazar himself doesn't know enough to realize he's being used. He's a useful idiot. Yeah, I don't know how he is now. I mean, he's older now, but I'm talking about when he first, was exposed. And the point is, you have guys like Joe Rogan and Jesse Michaels, and who's the other guy? Who I'm having a block on his name because he accused me of communicating with Jeffrey Epstein, which is untrue. It was Deepak Chopra who was sending my stuff without my knowledge. Jeffrey Epstein, this guy, what's it? Ross Coulthard. And the other idiot who gives Lazar, it's George Knapp. George Knapp. I used to be on his show, and now he doesn't because I supported Trump. Yeah, we got political. He's a Democrat. I was a Republican. I don't support Trump too much now because of Iran, but whatever. So you have these idiots in the media who are giving giving useful, who are just misinforming the public because they're too stupid about physics to know that what they're doing. So this is a big problem. The big problem we have in the United States is the disinformation stupidity barrier, which is being propagated by the big pundits. We have the Good Trouble Show. Who are all these guys? Who are they? Let's name. We have Joe Rogan at the very top. We have Jesse Michaels, who works for Peter Thiel. And these, they mean well. I've been even on Jesse Michaels' show, but they support. We have Tim Ventura. We have, who else we got? Ross Coulthard. We have, is that mainly who we have? Who are the big people who are trying to dominate the mass media on UFOs? Okay. They're all either witting agents of influence or they're just useful idiots of parts of the intelligence, the CIA, and the intelligence community is split. There are people in the intelligence committee who support Jack Sarfatti. There are people in the intelligence committee who probably want to kill Jack Sarfatti and support guys, the bullshit guys, the Eric Davises, Harold Puthoff is a mixed bag. I support some of what Harold Puthoff does. I've known him since the '70s. I don't support his gravity stuff. It's all bullshit. I don't know whether he knows it's bullshit or not, but it's all wrong. And I'm not the only one who says it's wrong. So, but certain things Hal does. I support his remote viewing. Hal is working on using vector potentials for communication with Joseph and Joseph. There might be something to that. So not everything that Hal does is wrong, but the stuff that I know about that I'm working on that he's doing is disinformation. And Eric Davis supports it too. And by the way, they've all been funded by Liechtenstein, the Prince of Liechtenstein. So there's all that stuff. There's all the politics involved. So does that answer your question, or any more questions about that?
Thank you, Jack. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. in 3 hours. I think I'm gonna end
All
this
right. Yeah.
space. I want
Okay.
to
Yeah.
thank
And
Jack.
I'm gonna have a sore throat. Okay, but I'm glad at least at the tail end, at least, that we were able to hear each other. The first 2 hours almost was wasted. Okay.
Yes, adapt and overcome. Right,
Yeah.
Doc.
So
thank you so much.
you know what? When you
I
post this, you should sort of tell people that if they go to the last hour, it'll be a lot clearer. I don't know what it's going to sound like.
yeah, those that don't want us talking about it drop off after 2 hours.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
But thank you so
Okay.
much. I truly enjoy talking to you.
Okay.
And I'm
I'm
sure
gonna
everyone here
leave.
does.
Okay. Okay, guys. Ciao.
Thank you, Jack. Everyone else, thank you for joining. Like I mentioned earlier, I'm going to have Joshua Bach on tomorrow night talking about consciousness and AI. So if that's something you're interested in, that'll be at 7 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time tomorrow. If you haven't heard from him, he's brilliant, probably like top 10 in his field when it comes to AI consciousness, and he breaks it down into layman's terms. So um, I would definitely say if you're interested in AI and those type of subjects, you don't want to miss out on that. But I appreciate all of you. Thank you for joining us here tonight. Everyone have a safe night. Justy, Rich, everyone up top, Cole, everyone who came up to speak. Thank you for being part of the conversation. I definitely got more information out of him than I thought. I mean, I think we covered quite a bit from NHI to physics to anti-gravity. I think it was a very, very good space. Thank you all for pulling up. Appreciate you all.
Thanks so much.
Have a good
Good
night.
night.